We're live. This is how we always start shows. There's no introduction. We literally we just come right in.
Yeah. So, like, in case anyone does not know, like, this is the reunion show because we all three of us used to host a show called Comic Corner. God, was it 3 years ago? 2 years ago? Something like that.
More than that now, I think.
Maybe four. Maybe 4 now.
It's a blur. But yeah,
it has been a while.
So we're gonna start off with some boxing. I mean, I know Mary Lee was like,
Well, Scott, you should probably reintroduce then our guest host for today.
Yeah, our guest star today is Phil Champagne Clark. Yes, he used to be the co-host of the Combat Corner.
He used to be the host of the Combat Corner.
Yeah, it's true. You used to be the host. You've been really demoted, Phil. Holy shit.
I'm on the shelf. I've been on the shelf.
Your arms well rested.
Yes, and what a time to come back.
Absolutely. So, like I said, we got everyone back together. No audio problems or video problems. It's a Christmas miracle. We're all like this right now.
Exactly.
So like we were catching up like a little bit before we said go live. Like, so we caught up. Everyone's doing well, which is good. I mean, Marilyn make fun of each other for like 3 hours every other week. So,
it's true.
It's a free therapy session. I enjoy it.
Yep.
Glad to know I can be
new age therapy.
That way.
New age therapy, new form.
Yeah, I'll turn a message from Mary Lee, me to her, because she appreciates it. But yeah, Phil is a very good. I mean, he knows this stuff, but he knows everything about every sport really well, which is great. But his strength is definitely his strength is combat sports between professional wrestling, boxing, mixed martial arts. Like, if we need something like this, we always call him in. By God, there was a heavyweight title fight last week.
That's right.
And it was way better than I thought. I thought Fury was going to pummel him the whole fight.
Mm-hmm. And he did pummel him, but it was. I honestly think it was one of the best heavyweight championship fights in the last 30 years.
I agree with that.
No bullshit, no hyperbole, no over exaggeration. And I kind of went through my head even today just to see if I could figure out a few more, because there's the first 2 Bo Holyfield fights, 92 and 93. Lennox Lewis and Vitaly Klitschko in 2003. Tyson Holyfield, the first fight, I believe, had
no contest. Yeah.
The first one was when Holyfield beat Tyson. That one, I believe, had one had titles online. Second one was the ear bite. And Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko from a couple years ago. And that's
it.
I mean, as far as classic heavyweight championship fights, that's it.
Well, in the modern era.
In the modern era, that's it. You go back the last 30 years as far as classics. I mean, this one's going to live for a while. It was incredible. I do agree. I said, I thought Fury was probably going to dominate him in a similar fashion. I predicted, in fact, I was at a pay-per-view party with some friends, my brother, and
you called like 11. I think you called 10th round, not 11th. You were pretty damn close.
I was close, and unfortunately, I did to you, and I modified that to the 7th round at the party.
You so fucking.
Who's will do that to you? I thought same round as last time. I was feeling it, and my initial thought was a lot closer than my thought at the time at bell time ended up being. Thank you, Maker's Mark. But
of course, blame it on the whiskey.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean. One of the main reasons it was such a great fight was because Wilder fought the best fight of the 3 in this one, because I didn't think the first one, I scored it 115-112 for Fury. The first one, it was a draw on the judges. I didn't agree with that. But this one, Wilder he came out so aggressive right away, which was the smartest thing he could do, because the big thing for Fury in those first 2 fights was just the way his jab. Wilder's defense sucks. I'm sorry. He's a great puncher. He's got an Olympic medal, so he's got the credentials, but in the professional ranks, and especially against a guy who can really flick the jab like Fury, his defense is just it's inadequate. And the fact that Fury, I mean, those last couple rounds, he was landing so many close range shots, clean, flush, just all headshots.
Well, the thing too is like the heavyweight divisions, the guys aren't like, 6'2", 230 anymore. They're 6'8". They're mountains.
It is a much, much bigger division than in previous years. That is absolutely correct.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just we're getting chat comments from Mary.
Oh yeah, I see that. Yeah, I see that. But you're right. And
I'm like 30 seconds behind, but I'm laughing because there were comments.
Well, it looks like the Cowboys won. Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Darn.
Yep, there she is. That's the perfect. Yep, that was perfect. That was perfect. But yeah, I mean, it was incredible. I mean, when he knocked Wilder down in the because Wilder had a good first couple rounds, he came out strong. But then when Fury knocked him down in the third, we all kind of thought at first, okay, here's where things start to turn. We didn't realize that Wilder was going to come back and say, hold my beer, and knock Fury down twice in the fourth. And there was the controversy that people were harping about this week about the quote unquote slow count on one of those knockdowns from the referee. I don't think it was in particular any slower than I've definitely seen slower counts. I don't think there was any. I think Rogan made the comment it was either a mistake or something corrupt. Okay, I would be closer leaning towards mistake than that, unless we find out something new. We haven't found out anything.
But there's also two officials counting.
That's true, because there's the judge, there's the official on the outside who starts at the knockdown in case the referee has to move the guy into the corner or can't start the count right away himself. That's why you always see the ref make that turn towards the other official. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think there was anything. It didn't seem like there was anything nefarious about it. And the other thing, until we find out anything otherwise, you got to remember in the fight game, who is the ultimate arbitrator? Who is the ultimate authority? The referee. Mm-hmm. And was Fury up before the count of 10? Yes. Was he able to continue and ready to continue fighting? Yes. So, I just didn't see that as much of the controversy that so many other people wanted to latch onto. I didn't really see it that way.
Sadly, we did not get the rematch of the year, unfortunately, from that fight too. No. What I'm talking about too is like we talked about briefly, like 2 years ago. I mentioned with my nephew because hey, remember last year?
Oh,
but the fight of the year last year in boxing.
That's right.
Was my oldest nephew, and him and I watched to see the Fury Wilder second fight, and we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and we ordered blazing wings, the hottest wings they sell. Yep. And to say my nephew was struggling, I mean, it was a fourth round knockout for the wing. I mean, like the ref had to stop it. It was like, bro, stop the fight.
It's over. Get him out of there.
Meanwhile, I'm going with the same thing with like a flag going, and then I go over to his friends like, you guys gonna eat this?
There's always that one guy who has no problem with the blazing sauce.
Me. Yeah, my nephew was not one of them. We'll say that much.
Wow. But, That's right. I remember you telling me about that.
Sadly, we didn't have a rematch of that, but we will fight shortly.
Maybe it's better for your nephew that there wasn't a rematch for that one. His career could have been in jeopardy.
I don't know. I mean, it's not the test retina, so I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I promise.
Man.
Like you said, next time we do it, I will record it and definitely be probably going to put on this channel because I'm the greatest nephew ever, uncle ever for that.
It might go viral for all we know. You never know. But I mean, so getting back to the fight, it was just tremendous stuff. And the funny thing is, the common refrain at this party that I was at for this was, well, there's no way it could go 12. There's no way it could. At first, we just thought because somebody's going to get knocked out. But then as it went along, we just thought the pace they were setting for themselves.
Oh, God.
And considering both came in at career highs in weight, Fury. Now, remember, that's the weigh-in weight. As you know, and I know from watching combat sports, these guys can rehydrate
in
as
sports.
Much as, I've seen 25 pounds. Well, now, I don't know. I don't think it was that much for either of these guys.
No.
But at the same time, Fury weighed in at 277. Wilder weighed in at 238. You got to assume they had to rehydrate, maybe a little bit of weight.
Well, they cut back. It's like a day now, right? They weigh in.
Correct. They weigh him in on Friday and they fight on Saturday, it's a 24-hour thing. So they can rehydrate if they do the insane practices that a lot of fighters unfortunately do.
I mean, we've talked
So
about
these guys are at, oh, sorry.
Yeah, that was it. It's like Brock Lesnar, like when he fought in the UFC for the first time. Like,
Oh, God.
265. Yeah, my late father even says, like, if he's 265, I'm like 190.
He was a 265 pound raisin. He was so dried out, I'm sure, at those weigh-ins. And even Rogan's even commented, I think, several times that Lesnar could have weighed as much as 300 when he stepped into the cage.
I firmly believe that.
I would absolutely.
Or at least when his like list rate when he wrestles in WWE is when I think he's at 283 they list him in.
Absolutely.
I believe that 100%.
100%.
Could it be 300? Yeah, it could.
I don't think for a guy like that, because WWE a lot of times, and it's a practice I don't mind in wrestling where they'll embellish a guy's weight. That's
I don't
fine.
think you
don't have to with exactly. You don't have to with Lesnar. You don't have to, but him or
Reigns, you don't. Yeah,
that's true. They're both big guys anyway, so exactly. And with Fury and Wilder, big guys, but with Fury, he never tried to establish the jab, which is one of the reasons this became such a brawl. Because I think the fact that Wilder came out so quick, it just kind of threw him off a little bit. He went into brawling mode maybe. And the other thing is Fury didn't get as many opportunities, but he did not do the practice that he did that I think was really effective in the second fight of really leaning on Wilder in the clinch and putting all that weight on him. Didn't do it as much in this fight. And I don't know if it would have even been as effective because Wilder was really light in that second fight. I think he was, if I recall, he weighed in below 220 for that second fight.
I think it was like 217-ish.
Yeah. So it worked. It was definitely going to be more effective in that fight. So it didn't even try that. And yeah, Wilder, I mean, a lot of heart. He did redeem himself in a lot of ways from the pathetic and shameful behavior that followed the second fight. He redeemed himself in a lot of ways with just the heart, with just the way he was able to take. He got up. That's the other thing that people forget. When at the end of the fight, the ref called it before Wilder even hit the canvas. He got up and he would have made the 10 count. He would have made it before the 10 count, but the ref did make the right call when he stopped it. I'm just pointing out the fact that he did not have any give up in him. I think he did have some give up in him in that second fight.
Oh,
I think he got frustrated in the maybe even the third or fourth round and went into that desperation mode. I didn't see that in this fight. I saw him much more composed. He fought a much better fight. I think this is one that it did at least soften the blow that he did to his career. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably have, obviously you won't get
that's the thing I was going to point out.
Will you say a fourth?
No. I don't think that'll happen just because it's such a clouded environment. The WBC now, I remember the WBC said on the week of the fight, Usyk is going to be the mandatory challenger, but Usyk's going to be defending those 3 belts in the mandatory rematch with Joshua. So who knows? Boxing's so stupid with the way these governing bodies, run their shops. They just are.
There we go. That's how they run it.
Exactly. But the one thing is, there was a tweet that I saw from Lou DiBella, a boxing promoter, a fairly famous one, and he mentioned something that I think definitely needs to be thought about in the aftermath of this fight. And he was thinking, and I don't know the exact quote off the top of my head, but the tweet basically was asking the hypothetical, could this be it for Deontay Wilder? And I think even Rogan on his show talking about the fight echoed that. And I got to agree, because that Olympic medal of Wilder's is almost 10 years in the past. Let's not forget about that. He's not a young guy anymore. He's in his 30s. He's getting older. Not only that, but his last 2 fights, the 2 fights that he has had in the last 2 years, he has taken brutal beatings in both. Fury didn't go to the body in any of those, in either of these fights. Pure headshots, whether it's the jab or the power punches. He and anybody who saw the second fight and the third fight would know the amount of shots that this guy took, that Wilder took in the head, clean, hard power shots from easily the biggest fighter he's ever fought. One should legitimately ask, Should he fight anymore? Should it be the end of his career?
I don't know.
And I think it could be. It could potentially be. Well, I doubt. I mean, I'm sure he'll probably fight at least one more time because some state will give him a license, and some promoter will definitely want to.
And they'll throw a whole shitload of money.
But as far as there's plenty of people he could fight next. Andy Ruiz Jr. is definitely a possibility. I heard that was a rumored one before. Dillian White and Otto Wallin are fighting, maybe the winner of that one, but it's a real question. It is one that people should think about because of how bad he was. Yeah, he's a big, and people might say, he's a big guy. Yeah, he's a big guy, but that doesn't matter. He's getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
He's getting hit in the head with a guy whose hands are probably as big as my computer screen. I mean,
yes.
That's the thing you got to think about with Wilder. With Fury, it's not the same because Wilder didn't land as many clean power punches like that. He landed plenty of them in this fight. I don't think he landed a single one in the second fight. But he went out on his he went out on his sword, as the old phrase goes. He went out on his sword. He went out fighting this is the way he wanted to go out in the second fight. He did not want to see the towel get thrown in again. And to be honest, I think that's why this fight wasn't stopped in the corner after rounds 9 or 10, was because he wanted to go out this way. And his trainer, Malik Scott, was willing to do that. He was willing to let him go out that way because I think you could have made the case. You've taken too much punishment. If you don't show me something in this round, I'm going to stop it. And he would have been well within his rights because Fury had turned the tide. By the 9th round, Fury had turned the tide. And it looked like it was going to be his fight, whether he was going to finish it or it was going to go to the cards. But tremendous fight of the year. I mean, hey, good luck to the rest of boxing. You got about 2 months left to come up with something better. Terrence Crawford and Sean Porter's about a month away. That's the only fight I can see happening between now and the end of the year that would have any remote possible shot. And you can tell by the sound of my voice and the tone of my voice and the wording, it's not going to happen. It's the fight of the year. It's the best heavyweight fight of the decade so far. Probably the best heavyweight fight in the last decade, if not the last 2 decades. Without a doubt. Yeah. Easy. Tremendous. What a time. It was a great viewing experience with some friends, especially because it outlived everybody's expectations and then some. And you want to see that out of a heavyweight title fight. It's good for boxing.
Yeah, because we've so rarely seen it lately.
And it's as somebody pointed out, a boxing writer, former writer, I believe, for the Ring magazine, pointed out once in an interview, and you know what he means when he says this. It's the only weight division that matters. That's not to say that there's no validity and but as far as drawing the mainstream American public, it's either the heavyweight or the welterweight divisions historically. Middleweights had some moments, but it's usually those 2 divisions that really bring in the public's attention.
Yeah, because it's a freak show, especially at heavyweight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there hasn't been you take Wilder out of the equation, there hasn't been a legitimate heavyweight contender.
American
legitimate contender.
Only since Tyson.
I was going to say, and Chris Arreola had a couple of title shots, but as a legitimate until Wilder, and that was it. But at this point, I don't know. I think Wilder's kind of back at the drawing board, to be honest, as far as being in the heavyweight title picture. It's been knocked out twice by one of the champs. The Joshua fight's not going to happen anytime soon with him. I don't know what's next.
I think next might be football for us.
Well, a game did just end.
Yes, we heard.
So welcome back. You might have to talk about that.
Yeah, I think we should, because it's good times for everyone on the show.
Oh yeah.
Especially the host that muted herself for her own sanity.
Yeah, I can only imagine what was going on behind that muted mic.
Yeah.
Hey, some things never change. It's just when you are on video as opposed to on a phone call. It's a lot easier to hide when you're not talking about boxing.
That's
right.
Like
that is the one area where I can offer absolutely no insight whatsoever. I know the names of the people. I knew that the fight happened, but I
was speaking Mandarin and French combined, basically.
Much better for me to just sit back and like let the people that know what they're talking about talk about. But that's good that there was a fight that's been one of the better ones in a long time. Because from everything I've heard from people about boxing, is that boxing has not been doing well.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's on the upswing. It is on the upswing, but there was a good period of time where it was definitely wanting for attention in this country. We'll put it that way.
No, that's a nice way of saying it. So yeah, football today has been nonstop since 9:30 this morning, and it's honestly in a way hasn't really disappointed, which is kind of nice. And I'm sorry, I gotta talk about last week's Bills game. I'm sorry, I do.
I knew it. I knew part of the reason why I didn't want to do a show last week, because I knew that it was all going to be about the Bills beat the Chiefs and they destroyed the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
Well, I was going to talk about the.
It was impressive.
Have your time. Talk about the Bills.
I was going to talk about the weather more than anything, and my question to you is: so, what's your? I got to ask one question though before we get to the Bills game. That's related to the Bills game. It's like, so what's your ratio of peanut butter and jelly? And is it strawberry jelly? Is it grape jelly? What is it? And if she doesn't, I don't know if she gets this reference at all, because she probably didn't watch Sunday night's game.
I was not home, so I did not really see Sunday night's game. I caught part
of it. They were talking about at halftime when you guys through the weather delay that the Bills were they were eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and Bills players were complaining because they were putting too much peanut butter on them.
They had about 70 minutes to fill. That's what you got.
Yeah,
that's a long delay.
You literally saw Mike Tirico pull out his notes from the pregame, and they just rehashed them all again.
That was
twice.
Funny.
He's like, "This is a recycling bin. Look what I'm pulling out of the recycling bin. Oh, this is my notes."
Let's talk about everything again, in case you missed it in the pregame.
It was a pregame and the freaking at halftime. Yeah. I mean, Grant, those thunderstorms were insane.
Remember when they showed the radar on the screen? Well, and it's just that mass of red and orange just coming right over Kansas City.
And the craziest thing was they had a 2-hour window. I don't know if you guys I Melly doesn't know if she wasn't watching, but they had a 2-hour window to get that game in for the second half.
Yeah, I was gonna say, has there ever been a time in the NFL where they've basically rain cancellation and they would have had to play it later?
They've only canceled one game ever because of rain.
Yeah,
what would they have done? Both teams would have lost their bye, right?
They probably moved the game to the rest of the game to Monday afternoon.
Oh, they would have played it Monday.
That would be my guess. And the only game they canceled ever was a preseason game, so it's not really.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But like you said, the thing was Phil was talking about. If you watch the highlights of the game, you saw Kansas City. There was a wall of water coming.
Jeez.
Oh, it was
Yeah, you could see
it was pretty wild.
And then there was a 2-hour gap, and you saw afterwards. The first storm was the baby brother. There was a monster storm coming through about 1:00 Eastern time.
Oh wow!
Oh, it was nuts.
Because I watched there's a Buffalo Plus channel I watch. It's the guys from my local ABC affiliate doing it, and they said we're sitting here at 1:30 in the morning local time, and it's coming down worse than ever did during the game.
Dang.
And you could see the thunder and lightning too in the background. It was a gorgeous picture of Arrowhead with the thunder and lightning going on.
I saw one they showed on the broadcast. Which
I was like, "Oh, damn,
nice!" Where it lit up the whole sky.
Jeez. Whew.
Yeah, like I said, I have enough friends that were there, and I have no friends going tomorrow night's game. But like I said, just the sheer if everyone's a doubter in the Bills team, they have the number one defense, they have the one scoring defense, and no one scoring offense right now. Fewest yards allowed, and they lost a game.
Yeah, they lost a game.
Pittsburgh, they lost week 1.
Oh yeah, that's right. Boy, I don't even remember that.
They're apparently the Bills don't either. Same as Dallas. Dallas lost week 1. Now, granted, Dallas lost week 1 in a tougher situation.
Green Bay lost week 1.
They have not. Yeah, and none of those teams have lost since. So there was definitely I don't know if it was kind of like a wake-up call. I mean, I did not think the Packers were going to be good, honestly. I thought Aaron Rodgers was kind of going to phone it in this year, because regardless of, like, his trade value is not going to be affected if he does not have an MVP-esque year. The
true.
dude he's going to get what he wants to get out of it. So I really did not think they were going to be that good. And I'm also mad at them for not being good in the week that I picked them in a suicide pool for the second year in a row. I'm out in week 1, and now they haven't lost a game since. It's like, really, the Saints are not that good. Like,
I know.
Well, yeah, it's really
I
New
know.
Orleans seems to show up because it was like, yeah, it was 30-3 versus New Orleans in Jacksonville.
That entire game looks like an aberration now. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a totally different team played that game. It looks like.
I mean, the thing is, the Bills
I don't
played
know.
the same game. It's just the Steelers got lucky, like with a block punt.
Oh yeah.
So
I
like
the
remember
Bills
that,
now
also
it's
weren't
coming.
world beating the Steelers the way that they've been world beating every team since.
yeah, just ask the Houston Texans.
I
Now,
mean,
now, hold on. You're the Bills fan. Did you hear about it was the biggest bet of the football season at that point, where a guy won a half a million bet
Because he
$500,000
cleared the spread.
bet because he took the spread on that game against the Bills, giving 16 and a half.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
that was it. Apparently, I agree.
Because-
It probably should have been more, but
could've took
it-
that
to
put
spread and
half a
doubled
million-
it.
to
Well,
put
there's-
$500,000 on that spread. I mean, if Houston had come out and scored the first points, you
Oh, yeah.
would have started drinking really quick if you had that bet.
Oh, absolutely. Jesus. I mean,
But yeah, and what
Well,
was
the-
it, 40-0? I think that
Yes.
game ended at.
yeah. The thing was that was what I was saying. That's it for was the fact that like 16 and a half. I was following because I'm not really a degenerate gamer, but I follow the lines. Like 5 minutes before kickoff, it went up to 18 and a half. Mind you, it was a driving rainstorm. So I'm like, oh, there's no fucking way we're covering. It's gonna be like 6-3 final. I'll call it a day. I'll be happy.
Well,
40-0.
Houston,
Man, I was wrong.
I think you well overestimated Houston and how not good they are. I
Oh,
said at the
the-
beginning of the
I
year.
was-
now,
I was saying they're not
proved
good.
wrong today. I was proved wrong today. I will admit that. But I said at the beginning of the year that the only win that the Jaguars and the Texans were going to get was because they had to play each other twice. That Houston was going to win one of those games and Jacksonville was going to win the other. So Jacksonville they did not win the Houston game yet. Houston could win 2 against Jacksonville, but I did not expect, like, literally both those teams were so terrible that I thought the only way they were going to get a win was playing each other. So the fact that the Texans covered that, or the Bills covered that spread, does not surprise me. Would I have been ballsy enough to put $500,000 on it?
I would.
Hell no.
I would. I
Hell
wouldn't put
no.
five. I wouldn't put $5 on it.
Like, I don't trust you, Davis Mills, but hell no.
Yeah, not,
You'll
not eight-
put 5 on it? You'll put 5 on it? Well, you got the 5. Now where's the rest of the zeros?
Yeah, with those 5-0. Yeah,
You'd have to put down like $5 just to win like 25
$1?
cents.
well, it's like that crazy bet, Marilee, when I were talking about from draft night, where a guy bet like something like $13,000 to win like $50 for Trevor Lawrence scoring the first overall pick in the draft.
Why?
Guess he really wanted those $50.
I guess.
I mean,
Is it-
I mean,
that
I guess
doesn't make sense.
I have 2 questions about that. Why is one of them? 2 of them. Why was it Nick Schwartz?
yeah. Good point.
As soon as you mentioned when you said you're like, I'm not a degenerate gambler, I was like, wow, I'm surprised you didn't call anybody
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like you said. Like I said,
Yeah.
I see an 18-point line in the NFL. I'm like, yeah, stay away. I shy away from those in college.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
college, they're usually easier to cover.
Yeah, because like usually it's like Alabama versus Alabama A&M.
Exactly. And they're gonna at least put up something. Let me ask you two a question, because I've been hearing the rumors, because Miami just lost today to Jacksonville. Not a good look for Miami. Let's put it that way. But I've heard the rumors for at least a couple weeks now, if not a month, about the possibility of Deshaun Watson landing there. Does today's loss because Tua Tagovailoa's stock would have to be pretty low for them to make that type of a move. Does today's loss do anything to push Miami in that direction?
I don't think so, because personally, I don't believe that he's playing this year. He still has 17, maybe it's even more than that,
I think it was 20.
pending-
I think it was like 22.
for like
Actually,
20 something. pending sexual assault charges against him, even if he is cleared of every single one of those charges.
He's
I
sitting out a year.
honestly, one, it's going to take time for that all to develop. Two, there's no way that he plays. Even after he's cleared, he's going to stay on that commissioner's exempt list. You don't bring him back. It is way too hot of a situation. I don't care what team you are. There was talk that the Eagles wanted him too. And I'm like, stay the hell away. Like, one, you'd literally be giving up all 3 of the first round draft picks that we're probably going to have. Stay the hell away. He is not worth it. Does he make your team better? Sure. But he needs to be on the field and not be sexually harassing women, assuming that he did it. I don't want to presume guilt, but tends to be when there's 20-something cases, it's really hard to say that every single one of those people are lying.
Well, it's like the John Gruden emails we talked about briefly off air. It's like,
exactly.
if it's one, maybe we can let it slide, depending on what it is. But if it's 7 years or 22 accusers, it's Joey Ryan.
Exactly. Very nice. Very good. And that's why I wanted to ask, because it never made any sense to me that anybody would want to go after Watson this year. That's why it didn't make any sense that
even
a team, I didn't even hear about the Philly stuff. Boy, if Philly did that, I think we'd have to have Nick on a suicide watch or something, call him and soothe him, because
I'd call Tanya.
I wouldn't understand. I would make sense.
I would call Tanya in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it'd be like, you need to stay close to your man and make sure he's okay. This is a tough time.
Yeah,
it would be a tough time if that
even.
Oh yeah.
Even if the whole accusations were false, or they never existed, I would never touch him. That with what Houston wants for him, it's way too steep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care.
It's a
I don't care if
ransom.
it's a quarterback. They want 3 first-round picks and 3 players. No.
I can see why the price tag is high, simply because you're getting a top-level quarterback who's still in his physical peak. But
he's got a cap-friendly contract too.
That's right.
But once again,
I know it's steep. It's steep.
Right.
It's very steep.
Next year is potentially a different issue, because you'll know at that point if he's going to be facing jail time, if he's actually guilty. Like, you'll be in a much better position as another team to know that the guy that you were literally giving up everything for is actually going to play for you.
Right. And the thing too is since I watch, because Phil and I watch college football, but I think I follow more than he does, I want to say, and I followed the draft more than anyone alive.
Definitely do that.
More than anyone alive. Yeah, anyone not named Todd McShay or Mel Kiper. Yeah.
Yeah. You got that down.
I was gonna say it's a fairly weak quarterback class too. So it's like, do you objectively, if you're Houston, if everything is exonerated, do you really want to get rid of this guy? He's personal grata right now. It's like your replacement, your replacement's not gonna be anywhere near it. Even 3 years down the road, I will boldly say that right this second, the quarterbacks in next year's class suck. Flat out suck.
It does look weak.
I'd say if you're Houston, if you're Denver, if you're Miami, if you're any of those teams in that situation,
Rodgers.
You are literally, you're not thinking about anybody else. You are working on that package to convince Aaron Rodgers that you are the right fit for him. That's exactly what all these teams should be doing.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's, by the way, as a Wisconsin guy, I can tell you, my gut tells me that's what's going to end up happening. Even if Green Bay were to go and win the Super Bowl this year, which I think they will. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see about that.
If it's a Packers-Bills Super Bowl, oh, man.
Hey, Marilyn, you got a new job if that happens. You got a new job. You are the referee now.
Yeah, you're going to be the referee for about 2 weeks' time. But
that'll be
I
fun.
think even if Green Bay were to win the Super Bowl this year, he's leaving. The relationship is not salvageable, and I'm on his side on this one. I've been Scott will tell you from our off-the-air conversations, I've been against many of the people within the Packers organization for close to a decade.
We've talked about it. It's like, there's 2 guys on the Bills right this second who Aaron Rodgers is absolutely livid. They left go. They never made an offer to either of them. Grant, I don't get the connection with Touchdown Jesus, aka Jake Kumaro. He's like a 7th receiver. He's a 6th receiver on the Bills right now. I get it. He's big. He looks like Jesus, catches everything. But again, though, he's like a 6th receiver on any team. Mm-hmm. We will gladly trade you back him for a 7th, a 5th round pick next year if you want to give it up. But the other person, Micah Hyde. I mean, to wrap this whole thing back up to
You
this little
love
Chiefs game.
you love reminding me of that because I know you do because you just did it. I think it was earlier this week when we
Yes.
were texting about this show. You just made a point to remind me of that. Believe me, I get it.
Make him an
I get
offer. You don't.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I told you.
like,
You know.
Green Bay's like,
I
here's
don't
a like.
like. I don't like
you're
the
small-
people that run this team here. I don't. I don't like Gutenkirst. I
mean-
Mr. Gutenkirst and Mr. Murphy. Get rid of them. I've been saying that for years.
Did Green Bay? I got one question. Did Green Bay fly Micah Hyde to Buffalo just out of curiosity? Just, I mean, Jesus,
may have-
just
If they didn't, they may have paid for the ticket.
I was gonna say they paid for his accommodations.
Because
yeah.
I don't know. It makes the fact that they got the two Smiths even more impressive to me, to be honest. Knowing
I was like-
who they've given up, even the Khalil Mack thing. If you want to know how bad the Packers are at getting this whole free agency thing, just look at the fact that what did the Bears give up for Khalil Mack, when they got him? A second round pick and oh shoot, it was cheap.
It was two first, but they gave up 2 first and I think like a player, but they also got a second round pick back.
It was cheap. It was a cheap price tag, as it turns out, and we were and the Packers were in the running for him. You're that bad at negotiating, or even Antonio Brown when he ended up in New England. Now I'm not saying I would have got him, but they got him pretty light as well. So no, they're just the Packers just aren't the people within the organization. They're just not that good at that stuff. And then for them to just be yanking Rodgers around all these years with these poor drafts and not even engaging in free agency, and then to draft his replacement and not even give him a heads up. They can do what they want. They can draft who they want. It's their team. But if the guy's your franchise quarterback, he's gotten you a Super Bowl, he's the best player, he is your team. He is your team. He deserves a phone call.
Not even that. Yeah. They, like you said, they don't even. It's not even they drafted his replacement. How many receivers have they drafted in the last 3 years? 1, maybe.
Yeah,
and it was like
there's been good ones out there, and there's been plenty of good ones out there. Not even ones that they would have. There's plenty they would have never had a chance at getting because of where they are in the draft usually. But there's still plenty of talent out there. So yeah, with all of that taken into account, and you're Aaron Rodgers, no, there's no way that relationship is salvageable. He'll be gone next year. Hopefully he'll lift that Lombardi trophy one more time in Green Bay.
Sure.
I can hope. I can hope.
But I would say, if the roles were reversed, if I was like Josh Allen and I didn't have the 3-headed, the seemingly 5-headed monster the Bills have right now, I'm just saying, like, I would go like, Josh, what do you need to be successful? Okay, round 1, receiver. Round 2, receiver. I'm taking every round. I'm taking 5 receivers in the draft just to make the guy happy, saying that maybe 1 sticks. And guess what I'm doing next year? The same goddamn thing.
Boy, you'd think with the Packers being so close to the Super Bowl the last couple of years that they would maybe take their quarterback's advice a little bit more to heart. But
that's the thing. Like, not every quarterback earns the right to be in that draft room and say, "This is what I need. This is what I want." And Aaron Rodgers wasn't even going out there telling them, like, "This is the guy. You need to jump up." It's like,
everyone was telling them,
"Give me some help." Like, that's it. Just give me some support. Just give me some help. It's ridiculous that somebody that has earned that cred by not only winning a Super Bowl with them, but literally being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL during his tenure, that you're not going to, don't you want to win? Don't you realize that if he's not getting people, like, Devontae Adams is great, but guess what? When Devontae Adams was injured, what did you have? There was literally nothing, and all they had to do was draft. I'm not going to go down the DK Metcalf road because literally every single NFL team passed on him and passed on him multiple times. So you can't really fault just the Packers for that. But there were a lot of guys out there, and I would say the same thing about the Eagles. There were wide receivers that could have been drafted when we decided to take Jalen Hurts. Now, was that ultimately what led to Carson Wentz's exile from Philadelphia? No, there was a lot of things in there. But also, Carson Wentz is not Aaron Rodgers. Carson Wentz took you to a Super Bowl, technically.
Got hurt.
But was not the one that got you over the finish line. Aaron Rodgers plays 16 games every year, barely gets injured. He's the one who is doing the yeoman's load of the work. It's a totally different scenario. And
I
to
mean,
hear these other teams with lesser quarterbacks who are going out there and telling their guy, like, hey, we're not sure, but we might draft a quarterback. We just wanted to let you know. And like, you hear those stories. For Aaron Rodgers to hear
Yeah.
that other teams are getting that courtesy, I can imagine that would have gotten to
Oh,
him
that was
as
it.
well.
I
Like,
think that was the moment
yeah.
he said, I think that's the moment he said it's a matter of when,
Yeah.
not if I'm going to leave. Without a doubt.
I mean, if you don't believe me that a good quarterback gets better with better weapons, I mean, look what Tom Brady's doing in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
the
Tom
guy's
Brady-
played. He's played better the last 2 years than he did the last 20 before.
Tom Brady is not even a good example here because no one will ever do what he's done. Tom Brady is
He's a unicorn.
completely inhuman. He literally is.
He's not a swinger, Phil.
You could give, honestly, you could give Philip Rivers those weapons. You could give Drew Brees those weapons. Still not doing the kind of things that Tom Brady
Yeah.
did. I don't understand how this man is being better. Like they always say, like age is like fine wine. He literally is playing better at 44 than he did at 22, and it's incredible. Like he.
I do
could play
believe
till 50.
the sold his soul to the devil theory has definitely gained more traction in
There's
recent
got to
years.
be something.
I mean,
I used to think the
exactly.
devil was Bill Belichick, but maybe not.
Yeah, I
It
still think he
will,
is.
because I mean, it's never going to happen again. You're never going to see a quarterback again. I guess I shouldn't say that, but it does not seem likely you're going to ever see a quarterback again in his mid 40s playing at this caliber. So that's fair. But I mean, it's true though. You do give a quarterback weapons, the right weapons, and yeah, he can. I mean, Kirk Cousins might be a good example in Minnesota. He's played better in Minnesota. He almost got into the Super Bowl one year. He got some weapons in Washington, but his play, I think, improved. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't have the stats with me, but the eye test says to me he's an improved quarterback from where he was in Washington, and he's got better weapons.
How can it not when you have Adam Thielen on one end and you have Stephen Diggs on the other end? Like, there's no way that you can't be better than. I don't even know who their number one guy was in Washington. It was tight end. He had like Jordan Reed, who was a really good tight end, but he was injured all the time. Like, I don't think they had great wide receivers. Deshaun Jackson was there, but he's. I don't even know what to make of him. Goes to LA, and all of a sudden he's Deshaun Jackson again. And what did you do? Shit.
Yeah, sometimes it's the right landing place, I guess.
Got injured.
I don't know.
2 years he was here, and he was injured for the bulk of both of those seasons. So you know what? It's
he keep on flashing gang signs.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I mean, not like Carson Wentz would have been able to throw to him accurately anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
No.
Although he's somebody else. I'm not saying he's played great in Indy, but he's looked decent enough.
Yeah.
They had a chance to win that Ravens game. That was not on him. That was completely
their
on
defense.
Their kicker's bad hip. You send a guy out there who has a bad hip and he can't kick, so you have your punter kicking field goals at one point.
Boy.
Like, yeah, that was whole. But Baltimore's a story.
Yeah.
I don't think we can go this far into the NFL season and still be saying that what Baltimore's doing
4 yards. That the LA Chargers had 4 yards in the third quarter.
And the Chargers are really good. The Chargers are a team that people are looking at to go far. Like Herbert is up there with Josh Allen. He's up there with Tom Brady as far as getting MVP consideration this early on.
Absolutely.
Not today.
What Baltimore did to them in that game. And you know what's really annoying about that game? So I have Lamar Jackson in fantasy. Lamar Jackson was just spreading the ball around. Every time I looked, it was like, a rushing touchdown. Oh, it's not Lamar.
Nope.
It's annoying to me as a fantasy player, but for the Ravens, exactly what they want to see.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
They want to see Lamar always, holding the ball, always going into the end zone. It's great that he does. When the season began, they didn't have a single running back. Literally, all of them got injured in short order. Now they got Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell is potentially like, hey, Pittsburgh, look at me. I'm playing on the Ravens now after a terrible tenure with the Jets. It kind of reminds me of that Antonio Brown Tampa Bay situation where like he's not gonna, Le'Veon's not gonna be their number one guy. He's filling a hole right now because the others, Dobbins and Edwards are injured. but he's good enough for what Lamar can do. And what people want to see from Lamar is they want to see him throw the ball.
Mhm.
Today, he didn't throw touchdowns. He
Yeah.
got them there and let the running backs do the rest of the job. So, kind of sucked for that reason. But if you're a Ravens fan, you like what you saw today. You love what you saw last week against the Colts, where he played hero ball. And, that was their first, I forget what the stat was. It was something like they were one game away from setting the record for most, it was like 100 rushing yards and 100 passing yards in like every one of their games. They did not hit that rushing yards mark. But you know what? If
They
you're a
won the
Ravens
damn
fan, if you're a Ravens fan, you don't care. They got the win. And it showed because
And
the
he was-
biggest criticism against Lamar is that Lamar cannot be a successful throwing quarterback. He is a running quarterback. That's all he'll ever be. That has been his biggest criticism in his
Yep.
first few years in the league. This year, he's shown that he does have that potential. Now, can he put it all together in the playoffs when it matters? Time will tell. But what the Ravens are doing this year, after the first couple games, you may have been able to look at it and say like, oh, this is kind of a fluke. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not. I am firmly on they are good and they are underrated at this point.
Weren't they down 19 in that,
Yes.
In the
that
Indy
Colts game?
Yeah.
Yeah, 19. Whew.
Yep.
It was like the start of the fourth quarter too.
Yeah.
Well,
Fantastic comeback. Needed
That's-
that one to win fantasy last week because Lamar got like 60-something points. It was insane.
yeah, like 450 yards passing. And
Frank Reich's still coaching Indy, right?
He is
Uh-huh.
indeed.
I thought he was supposed to make comebacks.
only play is when he plays quarterback.
Well, technicality,
Yeah,
technicalities.
I mean, what pisses me off about the league with the Ravens, it's not even the fact that the Ravens have no run game, like we talked about. It isn't like it's like we talked about at the beginning of the year. It's like not for nothing, but the Bills gave you a template for 2 games how to beat him, like the perfect template.
But not everybody has the personnel.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's
that's
a-
kind of what it comes down to. Like, and Lamar's kind of like a Patrick Mahomes. You can have the template. You can know what to do to beat Patrick Mahomes. Are you going to be able to execute that every time?
Do you have
No.
does Lamar have a D-bag brother too?
He might.
I don't know his personal
Or-
life, but
He might.
Or dumb as hell mom? I'm sorry. Did you see that? Did you see the post?
okay. That was, first of all, I know other people that were shitting on that. Here's my take. She's
I-
his mother. It's
I don't
not
even
about
know what-
knowing. She said that they should change the rules of what constitutes as an interception because of one of the interceptions he threw. I think it was the one that bounced off of Tyreek Hill's hand.
Mama's boy.
Yeah, they were like, that
Mama's
shouldn't count
boy.
as an interception because it was a good throw, and Tyreek, if he would have caught it, it would have been like, I
But
don't
that's a
care.
mom thing to say.
Exactly. That coming
That's a
from
mom
his
thing.
mom does not bother me because she.
You know he was getting ribbed in the locker room for that one though.
Oh,
you know that.
absolutely.
You know
and,
that.
And he's probably gonna be like, yeah, mom, please don't tweet or send out a message about
Could you
football
imagine if
again.
text?
If I was his teammate as a prank, I would have put a big bag of Pampers in his locker like every day for a week after that one. Something like
I mean-
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with Bills players texted him too, like especially if it was like Micah Hyde saying like, "Hey, so does my pick 6 count?"
Oh, boom. I
But
believe
yeah.
the answer is no.
according to Mrs. Mahomes, you're right.
Mom's always right. Gotta listen to Mrs. Mahomes. It's like Donovan McNabb's mom when she told everybody to eat more Campbell's chunky soup.
No,
I like Campbell's
I,
soup.
I do wonder if Patrick Mahomes' mom and Eli Apple's mom get along. Helicopter parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
form they can form a club.
Some people never outgrow it. Like
true.
it's just something as a parent, and it honestly it doesn't bother me. I thought it was kind of cute. In like an innocent, naive way. You would think somebody like that, who their son has won a Super Bowl and they've been
I was gonna-
around a little bit,
and they're-
would know a little better. But I don't think it's
They're not a
matter of her-
rookie.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of her not knowing the rules. I think it's a matter of her looking at it as this wasn't my son's fault, so why is he getting penalized? So I totally understand that from a parent
How they should
standpoint.
be-
Because you do. You stand up for. She doesn't care about Tyreek Hill. I'm sure Tyreek Hill's mom's out there being like, "Well, this wasn't his fault. If Patrick Mahomes had thrown it better, my son
Yeah,
would have caught it."
exactly.
Like, there's-
Exactly.
their parents are going to be parents. So yeah, that totally doesn't bother
I mean,
me.
the only thing that bothers me about it is like the fact, like, her son plays in the NFL. He's arguably the greatest, that's quarterback in this current generation, arguably. And your husband played Major League Baseball.
That's right. I
but this
forgot
is
about
baseball.
that.
We're talking about
Yeah.
interception. We're
Oh.
not talking about outfield
Dude.
assist, you know?
See, it would
Oh.
it would have been funny if it was like she made like a baseball reference and the thing it made it better.
Well, okay, that's true. I'm with him on that one. That would be pretty funny.
Because it's a mom's tweet or like mom's text. Like you like I mean, or like a parent's tweet that's like garbled. I literally will go to my friend that's a mom, like, hey, you're a mom. What the hell is she saying here? My friend that's a mom. It's like all garbled bullshit. It's like
Mom speak.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I say I'll go to my friend like you're a mom. What's she saying here?
Wow.
She's just supporting her son. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but I'd be like you. I agree with Mary Lee too. It's like that's like if my mom did that and I was Patrick Mahomes, I would tell my mom, "Count, shut the hell up."
It's like,
I mean,
thank you. Yeah,
he's got
thank you, but
he's got big
please.
enough problems with his brother going to games. So like,
And pouring beer.
he's got two members of the family that's got to be like, dude, what
Did
are
his-
you doing to me? Maybe that's
did
why
his-
he's not playing well. Maybe he can't
like-
focus.
Now, did his brother fuck up at a game or something? Because
Yeah.
all that I've known
Yeah.
about him is that he looks like
Yeah.
a douche.
He
He
threw
dumped- he-
beer on some
Oh,
fans.
Ravens
Oh,
fans.
for
Ravens
God's
fans,
sake.
that's what it was.
Was it
Yeah.
now? Was he drunk when he did it?
I don't
I'm
know.
assuming.
He was in a box and he dumped it off like off the side.
Oh,
Yeah.
then he might have just been being a douche than doing that whole thing. Okay. I didn't see that
Sit in-
either.
Sit in
Oh, I'd be
general-
pissed if I was underneath that waterfall. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, especially because it's stadium beer and it's probably $15.
No
like,
kidding.
ship you.
Yeah.
But again, though, it's like, yeah, I'll come out here and do it to my face, pour it right on my head, see what happens to you.
No kidding. See
Yeah.
what happens. I don't care who your brother is. And you really wouldn't care because he'd be right in the middle of the Bills Mafia.
Yeah, you try- well, for how many Bills
You
fans-
guys travel. They travel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they travel. They should
Seriously.
just do a t-shirt. They really should just do a t-shirt next season, the Bills Mafia tour, and it should just have all the road games listed on there.
Well,
The
someone made
cross
a
country
Bills Ma-
tour.
They did Bills. They did Bills Mafia tour the whole season. Like one of my shirts I have, like somewhere.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hold on, let me see if I can get this picture up. I don't know. Hold on, I got just darkness. You can.
Okay. Because he
I don't know if you
Boy,
can read this.
okay.
So bad.
Yeah, it says Dawson Knoxville.
Nice.
Well, because
Nice.
he called Nashville.
I
Because
remember that one. I do remember that one.
but if you
Nashville.
honestly, God, you should look up the photos this week of the Bills in Nashville already. Like
Wow.
there was apparently my friends were going to the bars last 2 nights ago. It's a 2-hour wait to every bar in downtown Nashville
Woo!
because
Wow.
Bills fans were clogging them so much.
They took over.
Yeah,
They congregated.
I don't know if it's because it's a Monday night game or it's because it's honestly I question Tennessee's fan base, and yes, I think it's another city
I
we can
could-
check off the list because
can
I
see
question
that.
their fan base because it's like I remember
I can see that.
the Titans Jacksonville game like 3 years ago when Jacksonville was like relevant and it was like a fight for the NFC South, and it was like 3/4 full.
Mhm.
It was like a week
Yeah.
17 game. It's like you don't sell games out, like and then like I said, you have Bills fans showing up in droves. Like
Yeah. They travel.
There's-
No,
there's
I can
certain-
see that. I can
There's
definitely
just
see
certain
that.
cities that shouldn't have teams, and
We've
you
talked
look
about
at the argument like they want to bring a
LA.
baseball team to Nashville. It's like I don't
Not
think
gonna
that
work.
makes sense because
in a word,
you don't
no.
have people going to the hockey games. You don't have people going to
I
the
was gonna
football
ask about
games.
that.
So and there's other things to do in Nashville. Like it's kind of the same argument as to why people don't go to games in Miami. Well, one, the Marlins are trash, but two, even when
The
they
Dolphins
were
are
good,
trashier.
even when they were not even
Even when they were
including
winning World Series, yeah,
that,
they were going to those
but like
games.
exactly
Yeah.
that there was nobody
Tampa Bay.
because there are better. I was going to bring up that example too. I had a conversation with somebody this year, was towards the end of the season, and we were talking about like the Phillies fans. We're like, oh, we only have like 15,000 people at this game. Like we're a contending team. We only
Tampa Bay would kill for
15,000
that.
people. Like what's going on? Yeah, Tampa Bay, meanwhile, is leading the American League East, one of the toughest, and this year the most competitive division in all of baseball, and they still couldn't get fans to
Yeah.
those games because
It's a
there are
football
other
state.
things to do
Yep.
in Florida. There are things, people are just they're not going to baseball games. They're not going to football games. They're not, the argument can kind of be made for LA, but LA is so big population wise that there's enough people who are going to those games to make up for the people that are deciding like, nah, I don't want to go see, the Dodgers or the Lakers.
They're
or
still
whatever.
going to see college football games in Florida.
That
The
is
pros they're
true.
staying away from. They're going to the college
Yeah,
games.
that's true.
You're
And Florida State is one of the garbage programs in major college football, and they're still doing good numbers for what they're allowed to bring in.
Yeah,
I would say Miami's like 1-4, and there's like I think they're selling out that damn
Yeah.
stadium when Dolphins are like.
So they're staying away from the pro games, we should say, for football. But you're right.
Well, it's like I feel like I was watching an episode of like Impact Wrestling or like old TNA pay-per-view with like 3 years ago with 2 years ago with the Ravens Dolphins week one.
all 8 fans.
They don't sell. They sold out like I think it was like 75% of the fans.
It's a SmackDown taping now.
Or AEW taping, but anyway, but as I said, like it was like what the hell was it? It was like 75. It was like 75% full, and then it's like it's 41 to like 3 at half. There's like 10 people left.
Man,
it's like and it's getting. I'm like, oh shit, it's getting worse.
Yeah,
and it's gonna get worse.
Speaking of getting worse, how about those Browns right now?
Yeah,
now, did they
what
lose?
happened?
Did Arizona finish that one?
Yes, Arizona did win that game, and
yeah, not all that close.
Baker.
Yeah, it was. I stopped looking for updates for that one in the third quarter.
37-14. It was the final.
Oh wow, Cleveland didn't do nothing in the second half. Then
Baker apparently got hurt in the third quarter.
Who did?
Oh,
Mayfield, like his shoulders, the labor has been like JJ Watt.
No, poor Browns.
Poor
They're gonna have to
Baker.
go to another starting quarterback. This is like number 35 in the.
Oh,
I think
You've been waiting to get that show.
We've
been waiting.
Oh,
I know.
We have had Browns
The
starting
list.
quarterbacks conversation. Yeah, we actually went through the list one time on the show.
Well, I'm
Because
not surprised by that.
I
It's
am
probably
a
a hell of a
Baker fan.
list.
I am honestly a Baker fan, and I was hoping, like, I wanted him to succeed. I was really,
one.
looking forward to see what he could do. The Browns were my pick in that division
Well,
when the season began.
Well, before the season even started, I was like, when the season started, like the first couple weeks, even with this injury that they didn't mention yet, I was like, and I even heard, I was like, just one friends were like, is Baker play himself out of like some serious money by playing? Like the way he's playing, it's like he's costing himself like 50. I mean, long term, it might help the Browns in the long run because it'd be like
not
give him a cheaper
everybody
deal.
has a good contract year. That's kind of always the big question. With some people will go out in their contract year and completely go crazy and get that money. Other people just, it's not meant to be.
I mean, the good news for Baker, I think they have the 5th-year option, so it's not his contract year, but.
True, yeah, and they most likely will. I can't see a scenario where they don't pick up that option.
I think they already did, but still,
they
it's
already picked it up.
But the extension
the season's only half over.
Not even.
True.
Not even.
They're
Just throwing that out there.
I'm
not saying he's gonna. I'm not saying he's gonna win MVP or anything, but I think there's definitely room for him to improve by the end of the season.
But if it's like because he had a partially torn labrum. And it's not throwing on, but if it's fully torn out, he's gonna have surgery. He's done for the year.
Well, yes, yeah. I mean, correct. I was obviously saying if he can get through whatever. I didn't even see the play that I didn't even know this happened actually until just now. It must not have happened when I was still watching the games.
And whichever I think it's Kareem Hunt played today because Chubb was out. Whichever one
yes,
played
Chubb
today,
was out. I knew
Chubb
that
was
going
out.
in.
So Kareem Hunt got yeah, he got carted off with calf injury too. So it's like.
Oh, he was
and I know left.
Too.
Huh?
Who they got left? My God.
I mean, Odell's not doing anything, so.
I guess. I mean, they're running out of pieces here.
He got injured again, I think, too. I think
I
he
saw
left the game. Yeah, I think I saw
God.
Beckham left the game, too.
Oh, my God.
Another funny thing, honestly, it's okay. It's not really.
Are they going to be able to field a full roster? For God's sake.
Maybe.
What is this?
The funny thing, like the quote unquote funny thing to me is like I had tons of friends that are Browns fans because when I don't know if I told you, I was like Rochester's that weird hodgepodge because before there was a Bills team, you were either a Browns fan or a Browns fan, Giants fan because there was no Bills.
Yeah.
So I have tons of friends that are Browns fans, and I have family of Browns fans. Like my sister's side of the family is like all Browns fans. So I mean, they're probably like the aforementioned Suicide Watch again.
I was going to
think
say they understand suffering.
Yeah, like I said, and I think that I had plenty of friends that did a 4-hour drive from here to Cleveland and went to the game today. Because hey, it's gonna be a hell of a game. It's gonna be Browns. We're gonna knock off the best team in football, arguably the best team in football. Let me rephrase.
No, that's the Ravens right now.
I mean, it's up to it's between the Ravens, the Bills, the Cowboys. You have to put them up there.
The Cowboys, I think, have played the toughest. Well, maybe they haven't played the toughest schedule. Now I'm actually curious who's played a tougher schedule. I know the Bills have played a cupcake schedule. I mean, they're winning, which is what you're supposed to do. But I think I don't even know if the Ravens have played a hard schedule necessarily. Like the Colts are not nearly as good as they were supposed to be.
Yeah, I think the two tough teams, the Bills and the Ravens have played. I think were like LA and like Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see.
I'll tell you, the Packers got a real tough stretch coming up starting. I mean, they got Washington next week, but after that, they got Arizona.
Don't
Kansas
sleep
City.
on Washington.
I was going to make that joke, but I was going to say it ironically. Please sleep on Washington. Do not look at what happened today as an endorsement of Washington. The Chiefs have not played a good first half of football
I know.
Season long.
I know, but when you look at what happened, when you look at for Green Bay, right after Washington, they got Arizona, Kansas City, Minnesota, Seattle, and the Rams. And I know, and Seattle, Russell I'm not sure if he'll be back by then, but I'm not going to sleep on Seattle.
Don't sleep on Gino.
Yeah. Well, unless you owe money.
Yeah. But so that'll be an interesting.
No, that is a tough
schedules go.
Yeah, that's a tough stretch of real games.
Because Green Bay's schedule has been pretty light after the New Orleans game as well. Because who have they beaten since then? Bears. What was it? Bears, Lions.
Bears.
Minnesota's probably the easiest game on that schedule, but I never look past divisional games.
And all of Minnesota's games, really, pretty much all of them have been very competitive.
They are close.
Right to the end. So it definitely is a game that I have circled. It makes me worried.
Like I said, I mean, the hardest. The hardest game the Bills have left is Tampa Bay, and it's in Tampa Bay, and that's it.
So let's
really,
wow.
I mean, there's a potential they could conceivably go 15-2.
Yeah, boy, if that's it on the schedule, yeah.
I mean, Carolina's Carolina. I could see
if they had. I mean, they don't have McCaffrey right now.
And it's in Buffalo, so like, if Carolina, if it's snowing, I wish Carolina luck.
Yeah, good point.
So the Bills really haven't played a tough schedule. Green Bay hasn't played a super tough schedule.
Nope,
Dallas hasn't played. I mean, Dallas opened up with Tampa Bay and the Chargers, but beyond that, they really haven't played. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm looking at Baltimore's schedule, and they played Kansas City. They beat them, which is bigger. It was bigger at the time that it happened than I think you look at a win over Kansas City now, just because they are kind of uneven. They're still a good team, but there's definitely some question marks there. Again, they beat the Chargers today, which I don't know how you look at that as, because the Chargers are again, they came in a good team. They got completely shellacked.
I mean,
the really only other hard game on their schedule was Vegas, and there's another team. Where do they stand? Like Vegas has this history of even back when they were Oakland, opening up really strong, and then Derek Carr just falls off the planet, and now they have an interim coach.
I assume they finished off Denver today. I'm assuming
they did
because they were well ahead the last time I checked.
They won by 10.
Okay, I would say the only thing I have to say about the Kansas City Chiefs again from my game, like. I mean, I don't know how many yards they gave up today, but they were giving up 7.1 yards per play after last week's game.
Sure, but the thing with the Chiefs are their defense doesn't have to be good. Their offense just has. They're still averaging 30 points a game, and they're not even playing at their best. That's what should make you afraid. That's what should make any other team in this league afraid. That a Kansas City Chiefs where Patrick Mahomes is playing average, a little bit better than average. He's still a quarterback that even at his worst, most people would take on their team. No, what I'm saying is he's playing like this now. Most likely he is not going to play like this all season. You're not going to see that many games where he throws 2 interceptions in a game. It's just not going to happen. He's not that kind of player. If the Chiefs put it all together, and they have plenty of season left to do it, because their division is, it's their division. They're in last place now, but I still think of the teams there, I think it's still their division to lose. Depending on what the Chargers continue to look like, what the Raiders continue to look like, they're more question marks. The Chiefs are a little bit more proven. I think the Chiefs, out of those 4 teams, are the most likely to turn it around, stay around, and then if I was another team, I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs. There's just something there. I don't care if Buffalo beat the shit out of them in the regular season. I don't care. Like Baltimore, they beat them. It was close, but they beat them. If I'm either of those teams, I still don't want to see Kansas City in the playoffs, because if Kansas City can play the way that they have in the past, that is still one of the best teams in football. They still have weapons.
It'll be a replay of that. It'll be a replay of that divisional round game where they put up like 40 unanswered after falling behind by 20. It'll be something like that almost.
Yeah, I mean, my only problem is, like I said, the problem with that number, like it's 7.1, it's the worst in NFL history.
For which one?
The Kansas City's giving up for the defense.
But it's still the season's not over.
Wow.
But that's still
now if they end the season with that number, then yes, it's definitely concerning. But we're probably not talking about them in the playoffs if they end the season with that number. They have plenty of time. We are literally 6 games into a 17-game season. I am not worried that their number is sitting that high right now, because I think that it's going to get better.
Fair.
Whether it's through a trade,
it is.
They are going to do something that they need to do to fix that defense, and
they do need to fix it.
Patrick Mahomes is going to figure things out sooner rather than later, and then look out. Just Kansas City is still dangerous. They're still, I can't. It's too early for me to write off the Chiefs right now. Now, the fact that they're in such a tightly contested division is really going to make watching those AFC West divisional games really, really fun to watch, because you're going to get a better sense of, Chiefs Chargers is going to be a good game. You're going to get a real sense of where both those teams are at. My biggest fear with the Chiefs, though, if you go into a second half and you are not up by like 30 points, you're probably losing that game, because they have played better second halves of football than I think any team has this year. They're terrible in the first half, but they are putting it together. So when they put together a full game, I think they beat the Chargers. I think they beat the Raiders. The Broncos are 3-3, but they'll beat the Broncos.
Yeah.
Very few teams, like the Bills, are going to be tough when they play them. If they play them in the postseason, they're going to be tough. The Ravens, I think, is going to be interesting. It really all is going to depend on, how good Lamar can play as well, because he really is. I mean, their defense is rock solid, but if Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, then you can't rely on your defense. He's going to get his points. Like there's no question about that. So it's definitely really the only, and those are kind of the only two, the Ravens and the Bills, that I can see giving the Chiefs trouble. I wouldn't want to play them. You could beat them in the regular season, as both those teams have. I still do not want to see the Chiefs in the playoffs. If somebody else can knock the Chiefs out before we get to the playoffs, or if they knock them out in the first round, while Ravens and the Bills are on their bye, like that's great for me if I'm one of those teams.
Yeah, if the Bills get the bye, I worry about the rest of the AFC, just because of who the teams are going to have to play each other. Like if it's me, like you said, like the Ravens and the Chiefs will probably have to play each other.
And then you're losing at least one really good contender. So, that's the benefit of getting that bye, is those other teams kind of cannibalize each other, and then you only have to face one of the 2 best teams.
Yeah, it's like last year where it was like it was the Bills, it was the Bills, Ravens, and then it was the Browns and the Chiefs in the AFC divisional round.
Yeah.
That's an insane group of like young quarterbacks for one.
Yeah.
2 is, like you said, cannibalizes, like the Bills Ravens game cannibalized probably the 2 teams that probably could beat Kansas City.
Yeah.
Even last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of them had their chance to beat Kansas City and didn't, but that was last year.
Right.
Things have certainly changed.
And like I said, the Bills have the template, and the scariest about the Bills, I don't know if you guys, like I said, I don't know how many Bills games you guys watch, but I think you'll watch at least one, maybe. But
as many as CBS wants to give me.
Exactly.
I get that.
I got to get red zone.
It's the crazy thing, like in that Bills Chiefs game, I mean, they've done it all years. Like when they wholesale change their defensive line, it's insane. Like,
I mean, that wasn't, I mean, you can't walk away from last week without feeling very, very impressed with where the Bills are at before the delay and after the delay. Yeah. It wasn't the delay that caused Mahomes to play as bad as he did in the second half. They beat him up.
They literally had was it they had some like 9 guys on the defensive line alone have 20 more snaps.
I mean, they're loading up. They're getting basically.
They said they
That to
armed
me, that they're ready. That's what they're going to do when they play
Yep.
Kansas City in the playoffs. They're anticipating it, I think.
Yeah,
And I think
they
last
play-
week that was their test to see if they had a strategy
Yep.
that on defense in particular, because Mahomes, I mean, I was already depressed enough going into that game last year after the Packers thing, but yeah, I mean, Mahomes lit them up. So they obviously,
they said they developed a plan to just obliterate
and
it.
it worked.
Let's say,
I
and
mean-
truth be told, I think they built their team with 2 opponents in mind. They built them on the Chiefs to beat in the AFC Championship, and they built them on the Buccaneers to beat in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Because both
Yeah.
of those teams
Yep.
are built in very similar ways. So if you can kind of formulate this line to go after these quarterbacks that have no shortage of weapons, I mean, you can't double anybody. Your secondary, like, what happens? You double Tyreek Hill, and then McCole Hardman's going to beat you. Or there's too many. You do the same thing in Tampa Bay.
And-
You decide to double Mike Evans, then Antonio Brown's going to beat you, or Gronk's going to beat you, and
Yeah.
he's
He's
having an
not dying.
incredible year before he got hurt. I was shocked at that one. I mean, I
So-
didn't think he was going to be mostly a blocking tight end like he was last year, but I certainly did not expect the numbers that he was putting up early in the season.
Speaking of numbers, the craziest number from this is the last time I swear I'm going to mention what the Bills Chiefs game is the number of times they blitz Mahomes
And to think we didn't talk about this last week.
because we didn't show last week coincidentally.
Just
Mary's
making
like-
up for lost time. That's all.
Exactly. But
That's all.
so how many times would you say they probably blitz Mahomes?
17.
You want to guess, Mary Lee?
I have no clue.
They always sent 4 guys all the whole game.
Really?
They did not blitz them at all.
Interesting strategy.
It worked.
Well,
I
that's
can't
true,
believe I
because
didn't
when you-
pick up on that. Because
Yeah,
I watched
blitz-
most of that game. I can't believe I didn't pick up on
When
that.
you blitz, you lose that extra defender.
Yeah, they
And
lose-
that's what enables you to cover, but
I
play
mean,
a little bit more man
I
than
think
zone on some of
what
these
helps
guys.
what helps the Bills more than anything this year is the play of Greg Rousseau, the rookie of the front. The guy-
Yes.
we've talked a little bit about Greg Rousseau, especially draft night, Mary Lee.
but
Affectionately,
yeah,
Just a little.
I mean, he can. I mean, for a rookie, he seals the edge for the run too.
Yeah.
which is like,
May-
I mean,
maybe they were
they
just
got-
getting such penetration that it almost looked like
That's
they were
what it
blitzing
was.
a lot last week because they were just, yeah,
They were hitting
so
Mahomes.
maybe that's what it was.
But the thing though is like, his nickname's Groot. If you never heard, because he's like 6'6", he's got 84 inches. And that pick he had, I'm sure
Oh,
Mary Lee
he's-
saw that pick he had
Yes.
was. I mean, they kind of teased him because he fell after he caught it. I don't know if Mary Lee saw the pick that
I did not.
Rousseau had. He literally tipped it to himself.
Yes, that was a nice
pretty
one.
funny.
Like the Mahomes literally tried that little sidearm thing, like the RPO sidearm he does,
Mhm.
and Rousseau is just like, "Pink, thank you." But like I
That was
said,
a
his
nice one.
arms are just so damn long. But yeah,
Ted
so it's
Hendricks.
great. It's like, and people are like, "Wait, he didn't blitz at all." Like Phil's reaction's like, "What?"
Because it sure looked like they did based on how quickly
They-
and easily they were getting to Mahomes at various moments during that game. It sure looked like they were blitzing them.
And no Matt Milano either, who's usually a Kelsey killer.
Yes. I remember they mentioned that at the beginning of the broadcast, I think.
So let's see. Today, so we should,
Thank-
enough. Okay, good news, Mary Lee. We're off of last week. We're on to this week for some
What,
other
this
things
was
now.
all just last week?
A lot of it was.
That's
But
just
no,
because
so-
the Bills haven't played yet. We don't
That's
have
right.
We don't have a week.
Which means you'll have to deal with him next week
Tuesday.
talking about the Bills
We'll see you
again.
in 2 weeks for the next show.
Unless they lose. Unless they lose, then he won't say a word.
I'll go on. Hopefully, I'll own up to it. But
They better not lose to Tennessee. Tennessee looks terrible this year.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about a team that had a lot of potential and has just
You
completely
take Derrick
fallen
Henry
off.
out of that equation, and
And yeah,
what are
that's-
they?
That's kind of what,
What
you're
are
learning,
they?
that they
The
literally are nothing without him.
well, the weird thing is the Bills have contained Derrick Henry for the most part when they play him. He's
Yes.
only averaging like 61 yards against them.
I think he's the one. I think they're the one team that really
Yeah.
has contained him because even I
They
remember
rather
last
stiff arm,
season.
but-
Yeah, I remember last season in a game when the Packers beat Tennessee by like 20 some points. There's
Yeah.
Henry with 150
Yeah.
rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. So
it's like Henry's like, I mean, apparently AJ Brown's a game time decision because apparently he contracted some illness today. I've been reading
Oh,
about,
jeez.
Hmm.
and it's not COVID.
That was you beat me. You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Because they reported as COVID, but like, I mean, another thing. I'm sorry, we'll go back to last week. Speaking of COVID, it's like the fact that the Cardinals hammered the Browns today, and they didn't have their head coach in 2 positions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they didn't even have their brand new acquisition, who
Which
takes
one?
a dangerous team and makes them
Oh, yeah.
just a little
Yeah,
bit better.
Ertz.
They
That
had.
Ertz.
I was reading this today that
What
they
was
have
that
the
about?
third lowest throws to a tight end. The Cardinals do. So that's going to change
Well,
when you bring
yeah.
in even though Zach Ertz now, who is not at the prime of his career, he's still good. And I think in Arizona, he's definitely going to. Sorry, the Braves just tied the Dodgers. That just sucks. Just
Fuck the
everything
Braves.
sucks. Yeah, thank you. Yes,
I got
game-
personal
game-
reasons behind. I
Game
don't
one
care.
made me so mad.
I don't care about any baseball team at this point. Those playoffs are done for me. I got nobody to cheer for.
Hey, I feel the same way. Those playoffs were
Over.
done for me when the Braves beat the Phillies, so that we didn't go to the playoffs. So I get
And
it.
then they
We're-
beat the Brewers.
Yep, I get it. We're in the same boat. But back to Zach Ertz, you were saying like what happened there. Honestly, I don't really know. And
Max Williams got hurt. That's
it's
the
a
thing.
weird. Well, no,
Or-
I know that. I know
Why
that.
would Philly just hand over
That's the thing.
a potential weapon to a contender team?
So
Especially in the same conference.
Here's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because
Even
this
better.
whole Zach Ertz trade saga was really weird. So Carson
He was-
Wentz wants out, and the team is kind of falling apart. And it's reported that Zach Ertz wants out as well. The talk was just all off season.
Ertz to Buffalo.
They're trading him when, like literally, they're
It was
trading him
daily.
when. It was not a matter of if, it was a matter of when. So then we finally get into like open practice time, the preseason starting, and it comes out that he's staying, that he has mended fences with the organization, that whatever issues were there, they're fixed. He's happy. He wants to stay. He wants to retire an Eagle. Like this is all that's going on. Oh, here comes my. See, I'm getting heated because I'm talking about this. But yeah, that was my. Get a little quieter. So anyway, so like and whether those were just words, maybe the players, when you're in a situation you realize you're not going to get what you want, does it make sense to, appease the team and say all those kind of great things? Sure. Do I think that he meant it? Yes, I do. I think he was genuine. I think he was at peace with where things were at. He, loves his teammates. He loves the city. He wanted to stay here. So that's all happening. He plays a couple games. Dallas Goedert misses last Thursday because he's on the COVID list. So Zach is your 1A, your number one tight end. He has a good game. From what the reports were, was that he had found out, I don't know if it was during the second half or whatever it was, but he knew during the game that was his last game, that he was going to be playing in Philadelphia as an Eagle. And apparently after the game, he spent 30 minutes by his locker crying.
Wow.
Whether that was a sort of this is it kind of moment, not that he was necessarily sad to be leaving, but it was kind of that finality of the situation. I don't know. It's kind of hard to reconcile. In my mind, for him, it would be hard to reconcile when you tell the team you want to stay here, you want to retire here, and then they trade you anyway. Why did they wait till week 6? Why couldn't they have done
Yeah.
that sooner? The only thing that and it's more I hope for than I, have like insight on that this happened. But his wife, her family's from Arizona. They're from Mesa, Arizona. She grew up there. There's still family there. So the only thing that I can think of is that they didn't just trade Zach Ertz. That they kind of went to him, was like, look, we're gonna move you. We don't want to just send you anywhere. Like that they kind of gave him
Where would
the
you like to go?
opportunity exactly to weigh in and
Oh,
say, like,
that'd
is there a
that'd be
team
nice.
that you don't want to go to that we shouldn't have conversations with? I really hope that
Mhm.
happened because I
Yeah.
feel like he's owed a lot more than to have this sort of I want to get traded, I want to stay here, I get traded anyway. Like he's done more for this franchise. He was 10 receptions away from actually becoming the all-time catch leader for anybody, and that would have been passing Harold Carmichael. So
Wow.
you're talking about a tight end would have been our all-time leading reception guy. So that just goes to show what Zach Ertz has been for this team. And I kind of think about the whole like Carson Wentz thing, where Carson Wentz was a POS on the way out, and we gave him literally what he wanted. We gave him the scenario that he said that he wanted so that he could succeed. And like to think that we didn't do the same thing with Zach Ertz, that kind of bothers me. So I like to believe that that's what happened. I don't know if, one side will ever say that or the other. In his goodbye press conference, like Zach didn't allude to having conversations with the team or anything like that. Whether they happen behind closed doors, who knows? But yeah, that's what I feel was part of what went into it. And I think there's also the element of like, look, we respect you as a player. We want to see you go somewhere where you have a chance to get another ring. So, the team has publicly come out and said that they are not phoning it in all the season, but they went into this season with low expectations to begin with. This was not a team that anybody was expecting to contend.
5 wins, I think the number was.
I was going to say, depending on what sports site you read before the season, it was like 4-7 was the range.
Seven would probably still get you the NFC East.
Seven could, well, in any other year, Dallas is winning it this year.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, like if this was last year, 7 games would have just about
I think
got
seven.
you there.
Didn't 7 get it?
So-
No,
Yeah.
they
It did.
was
7-9 last year.
7-9.
Yep.
That's what I thought. Yep. 7
So,
will get you.
7 would have got you there, but I don't think this team was ever contending to begin with. So it's not like this is this idea of you're shopping away your wholesale players. There's also the element to Dallas Goedert, who's the backup tight end, is in a contract year. So both him and Zach Ertz were set to be free agents at the end of the year. Now, Zach Ertz is gone. He's older. He was towards whatever situation was going on there. So they clearly have made the decision that they want to see Dallas Goedert play as tight end 1 and tight end only, because Nick Sirianni is apparently going to run a package of mostly wide receivers for the rest of the season. So I don't think we're going to do a 2 tight end set. They want to see what they have in this guy to determine how those contract negotiations go. So there's a lot of different elements I think are at play. Like you had mentioned, Scott, definitely the injury to Max Williams is what spurred Arizona to make the decision that they did, because it's not like we're getting somebody in Gowan who's going to exactly be a contributor this year. He's probably going to remain on the practice squad, and I don't know if he'll see, barring some like major injuries, because for as terrible as our defense has looked, we're actually kind of set in the secondary. So, you're not going to take out Darius Slay. You're not going to take out Steven Nelson. There's not exactly an opportunity for Gowan to come in and be a contributor right now. So, yeah, definitely a lot of play with the Zach Ertz thing. I just hope that ultimately he's at peace with everything. He's happy. He can resign to the fact that he may not get to retire an Eagle the way that he wanted to, but he will no doubt retire an Eagle. He will be back on a 1-day contract. He will retire as a member of this team, the same way that Shady McCoy is doing. And I don't even think that he was as important to the franchise, but he's up there as far as one of the leading rushing leaders of all time. I think Zach Ertz is a no-brainer for that 1-day contract thing.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I thought you were mentioning like Chandler Jones. I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's played either today.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Been a minute.
Yeah,
And he's another player that wanted out of Arizona too. And I think it's okay. I think he made defenses. I couldn't think of the word. Sorry with that.
And that happens. It's not completely unheard of. I think in this world that we live in now, where players and more specifically their agents determine what things happen, you don't expect a player who wants a trade to come back. Like you just don't. It's very rare to see that happen. Especially in the NBA, where and the thing is, in the NBA, like, you will see players sit out. They will sit on the bench. When Le'Veon Bell did that in the NFL, that was huge, because you weren't used to seeing that in the NFL. You weren't used to seeing a guy take an entire year off because they weren't getting what they wanted. Like, it doesn't happen that often. So, to see when players do mend fences, whether it's temporary, like most likely is the case in the Aaron Rodgers scenario, or whether it is permanent and guys really do want to stay, it's just you don't think that it's going to happen because we're so accustomed to this idea of agents run the world and agents get to tell their players and they get to tell the teams, look, if you don't give, like, there's a famous story, whether it was true or not, with Ben Simmons. So the Ben Simmons saga, which we're going to talk about because this whole thing is just stupid. Ben Simmons' agent is also the agent of one of the Sixers' other players, Tyrese Maxey, who is theoretically the replacement for, should Ben Simmons get traded, as many still think he will, Tyrese Maxey would be his replacement as starting point guard. Ben Simmons' agent is also the agent for Maxey. It had come out, again, whether it's true or not, that the agent had told the Sixers that if they don't give Ben Simmons what he wants and they don't send him where he wants to go, that the agent would insist that Maxey is included in any deal. Now, again, the agent does not have the power to tell the Golden State Warriors, hey, you also want this guy. But just the fact that the agent's behind the scenes potentially manipulating things like that, and there was also a rumor that went around that he told Maxey to, like, cancel his public appearances, don't do charity work in Philadelphia, like, write your way out of town. So, again, this is all kind of just, we don't know what's true, we don't know what's not true, but when stories like that come out, and you already know that the agents have way too much power, it's just this really, like, tough situation to kind of be in. And, you know, like I said, in the NFL, you don't see holdouts the way that you see in the NBA. It's just, that's kind of become part of the game. We saw it with James Harden. We saw it with Anthony Davis, where they're like, well, you want to sit me on the bench? Sit me on the bench. I don't care. You know, like, I don't want to be here, so trade me. And that's probably whether or not Ben Simmons is sat on the bench or whether he actually plays in the games. Don't know how that's going to, you know, go off, but it is kind of, you're not used to seeing that so much in the NFL. So yeah, I definitely, you know, when the whole Zach Ertz thing got resolved, I was very surprised because just the way that talk had gone, yeah, everybody thought he was going to Buffalo. Like, there was even one point where I thought he had been traded to Buffalo. Like, they were this close to having a deal done.
Yeah, they were really like hours away from having a deal done.
This close to having a deal done. Patriots apparently also had interest in Zach Ertz.
And apparently, you know, and then they decided Dawson Knox, like, hey, remember me? Hindsight's he's like, I think he's basically getting it figured, like, everyone said, like, yeah, we should definitely get Ertz. But he's got 5 touchdowns already, and but anyway,
he's definitely been good for them.
Yeah. And like I said, he's got a sense of humor about things too, which is always good.
I think part of the thing with the Patriots was Bill Belichick had watched Zach Ertz play in that Super Bowl. He watched Zach Ertz beat him in that Super Bowl. So yeah, there was definitely that idea of, like, you know, if he can't, I don't want to play against him, so put him on my team. You know, tight ends are always a rookie quarterback's best friend anyway. So yeah,
and that's why
I can understand why there was interest there.
And I think that was even after they signed Hunter Henry and John O. Smith too.
Oh yeah, well, Bill Belichick was the first coach to fully run with that 2 tight end set when they were playing Hernandez and
Gronk. Well, when you've got Gronk and Hernandez, I mean, you've got.
That's true. When you got those guys.
Yeah, who needs wide receivers? Like, Tom Brady didn't need wide receivers. We're going to say Tom Brady didn't have weapons. He had arguably the greatest tight end to ever play the game. I mean, and he still has him.
I mean, you've got, I mean, objectively,
he talked him out of wrestling.
Thank God.
Well, I think his William bumps was a determining factor too.
You know, if he was still wrestling, he'd be in AEW right now.
Probably.
Probably.
But anyway,
once Mojo got kicked out of WWE, he was gone.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say Gronk's not a tight end. Like, he's a 6'6", 270-pound slot receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why no one could stop him for like 15 years or
yeah,
like 12 years.
He was playing the opponents that he was playing against. He wasn't being defended the same way that slot receivers would be.
And then finally, I think the last 2 years, people were like, hey, wait.
They finally figured it out.
If we beat the shit out of
it didn't matter. They figured it out, but it didn't matter.
That's true. It did. It still doesn't.
You found a way to beat him. That's great. Well, now go out and actually beat him.
Which is amazing considering this is the older, more
this is
broken
old
down
Gronk.
Gronk after all the injuries he's had over the years.
and he's had,
Older,
yeah, that's
maybe
the
not
amazing part.
wiser.
yeah,
That's the
definitely-
amazing
that-
part. Well,
well, yeah, I mean, he's got what 4 fractured ribs, a broken rib, and
Oh
Not
yeah,
to
all
mention-
kinds of.
he had the arm or elbow injury multiple times from the way he would land doing the jump, doing the
Yep.
dive for the catches. He lost a whole season for that once, I
Yeah.
believe.
yeah, he did.
So, and yeah,
And
it
he's-
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. None of it matters.
So yeah, it's
Amazing.
like,
Superhuman.
Amazing.
well, he's probably like all metal now because of like all the injuries he's had.
That's probably, he's definitely, I'm sure he's at least got a few metallic parts in there.
Oh yeah.
Got to.
He's gonna have
Big
some
guy
problems
like
going
that.
through airports, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Big
a-
guy like
it's
that
a-
crashing around.
Like, I mean, not to, yeah, they'd be like the movie Airplane. I think it's the first one. I think it is when a guy walks through the metal detector. He's like move everything metal. And the guy removes like one arm, both legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, Mary Lee, I sent you the injury to Mary Lee to Baker Mayfield too, if you want to look at it.
Oof.
Is it gruesome? Is it bad?
No, it's not gruesome. You can just definitely tell like his shoulder's not going to be there like next.
Oh, I gotcha.
Oh.
Not something you can just kind of pop back into place. Not one of those kind
Aw.
of.
I mean, you can.
Probably not the best idea,
Hmm.
but that's true. I guess you can.
I still
Oh.
famously remember that story of Randy Orton mid-match dislocating his shoulder and then just popping it back into place and
Wow.
finishing the match. And then he was like on the shelf for several months afterwards. But yeah, popped into place, finished the match.
Do you
Or
think
the
when he
two-
popped it back in, do you think he yelled, "Fucking stupid"?
I
I'm
think so,
sure
yes.
he yelled a lot of things that they had to.
Yeah, that's
Like,
probably true.
Don't do it near a mic.
Oh God. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, good thing he does wrestle for AEW.
Yeah,
with that,
no
with that
kidding.
mic in the ring under the ring. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Bad get-
That's going to bite them badly at some point.
Oh yeah,
I'm surprised it hasn't yet.
I was gonna say I'm surprised
I
it hasn't
agree.
happened yet.
I agree, because they've been on the air now for about 2 years, and yeah,
and they're miking the match bad.
and on the pay-per-views they do cuss because they've had
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
they've had to blanket several times before for
Well, yeah.
on the pay-per-view. So I don't know, maybe they just tell
Well-
them you can't do it on live TV, but on pay-per-view, work blue, go nuts.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like-
know.
I mean, it's half of like Luke Harper. Jesus, Brody Lee's stick was that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Back. Yeah. May he rest in peace.
Peace.
But yeah, absolutely. So maybe that's the deal. Maybe they really nailed it home that you got to keep your mouth shut on live TV, but on pay-per-view you're good.
Speaking of Mr. Brody Lee, I actually saw someone like around a couple of my friends around here made a documentary about him.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, that was.
I am
'cause,
Brody Lee.
You
It's-
really nailed the point home about how big he was in,
Well,
in
the-
your neck of the woods. You
My
really nailed that point home.
my knock on it is the fact it floors me that they couldn't get more AEW stuff.
Yeah, you'd figure
Well,
AEW would have.
if you watch it, the knock on it, it's 3 hours long.
Okay, well that seems a bit much.
Yeah, and it's to Rochester.
Okay,
Like, I mean, they show like all like they go like year by year in his indie career.
and that's nice, but yeah, for a guy
Yeah,
who
3
wrestled
hours.
in WWE
Yeah.
and Ring of Honor and AEW and
In Chikara and
exactly everywhere.
they
where's-
mention but it's like yeah, these are Rochester guys doing, but it's like you have a connection. You're friends with Mookie Harrington, like I am. Like they
That's
should
right.
graduate. They should graduate them. Like, you couldn't get filming rights for like other than like the promos of him like something like throwing the paper at people and like
Did
after
they
this. I'm like,
want it to be more of the side of the story that people didn't know? Because
Maybe.
let's look at that when it comes to documentaries. Everybody
I
knows
could.
his time and Ring of Honor maybe a little bit less, but like the WWE stuff people know, the AEW stuff people know. What people
But you
know,
you
and
couldn't.
there's gonna be AEW did their whole own special and things like that. I feel like
True.
what people look for in these scenarios is what's behind. Like what didn't I see? Who was he as a person on these early days of his career when
But
he
that's
was
the thing.
going up and down the roads and things like
That's
that?
the problem. Like literally, he wasn't going up and down the roads. He was wrestling at Rochester. And that's it.
Yeah,
So
he
you're
was pretty
looking for, like,
centralized.
one promotion.
Well, I'd say there's like
3 here, kind of.
But within the city, he was pretty
Yeah.
centralized, from what I recall. I agree with Marley where she's coming from, but what I would say is 3 hours seems
that's a
like a
lot.
lot if you're just going to cover, his time there. That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And like I said,
True.
and AEW didn't have any like stock footage they never used. really.
That's true. Now that I agree with when it
That's what
comes
I
to
mean.
just showing off
Well,
what he could do in
like,
the ring.
well, it's
you
like,
don't
his
you don't
moves.
know if they asked for that footage. So
Yeah,
like
that's
you're
true.
looking at it in a situation of like, oh, like why didn't AEW provide this? Like I said, maybe they didn't want that. Maybe that wasn't where they were going with the
I get that,
documentary.
but they
So I don't
I
want to
get
like
that. It
throw
would
this
seem
on
like a mistake.
AEW, but I do agree that if you're going to do 3 hours, you can't just focus on one town, a couple little promotions, the same sort of thing. Yeah, like that could have been a lot shorter than 3 hours.
and well, yeah, absolutely, it should have been like an hour and a half.
Exactly.
And I mean that in the nicest way because I love all the people that did the documentary because I know everyone that did it.
Mhm.
And it was just like I mean, even if it's just like him hanging out in the ring just shooting shit before a show, like WWE is really good at that. Like even
Yeah.
even I mean, not even nowadays. You go back, they even had like I remember the night that it was like Terry Funk versus Mick Foley. And I'm not like I Phil seeing this match, the no disqualification, like the no holds barred false count. It was like the original hardcore match of WWF. Like it's a phenomenal match if you've never seen it, Merrily. It's on Raw.
It is all over the arena back when it was still pretty new,
yeah.
and with 2 guys that knew how to
and
do
it
a
was like,
match that way.
and it was like Austin and it was like
Austin was like
and
the
JR.
ref, wasn't he, or something?
He was a commentator.
Something. He was involved. Yeah.
And he's just like, I mean, granted, he's Steve Austin just drinking beer, just shooting the shit for like the whole thing.
Yep.
But yeah, but it's just like you watch the match, it's like this was like the precursor for like the Attitude Era and everything. And but the thing was like some like documentary, some like WWE tape they had, and they were just hanging out. They had footage from like about 20 minutes just talking in the ring, just as Mick and Terry like before they just took each other's head off.
I remember the one where
cameras are always rolling.
Yeah.
That's
I
the thing,
remember the footage I saw of Mick and Terry before that Hell in the Cell match where with Taker, with Foley and Taker, because Terry was the one who told Mick, start at the top.
Not surprising. Not
The
surprising
one who
that
gave
was
him that advice.
was
I
a
remember
Terry
that.
Funk thing.
That's the part I remember from that was that Terry Funk was the guy who suggested start it on the top. So
I'm sure he got thank you cards for the rest of his life for that. Like
I mean, short of the injury, that match kind of made Mick Foley. Like people are still talking
cemented
about
him,
that
for
to
sure.
this
It's
day.
meant I would
So
say is
can you live with a couple teeth that went down into your chin? Yeah, they can fix that. You
One
have
of
the
them
money.
your
Yeah.
I think the thing that made Mick Foley a star, I think Phil might with me, is the interview he had with Jim Ross.
yeah. There was
That-
as Mankind, right? Was that when he was
Yeah.
still with Mankind? Yeah, there because that was when they were started to do the in-depth interviews.
Yeah.
They did
And
one
they-
with Goldust and
And they were turning him slowly, he faced like
correct.
Mick.
Yeah, and they were
As
that's where
Mankind.
you found out the whole Mankind story and
The whole Dude Love.
and yeah, the 3
Yeah.
faces of Foley thing. And I mean, he definitely the 3 faces thing came, I believe, around a year before that match. And I agree. I think that kind of cemented him a little. The fall off the cage is more the moment that people remember. Like like anybody knows Mick Foley knows how awesome he was and his characters in the interview. But yes,
They
when you
talk
hear
about
his
that
name,
moment.
the first
Right,
image that
yeah.
comes into their head is him crashing through the
Yeah, it's
announce
like
table.
yeah, it's like I can do like I'm thinking about doing what was the greatest matches, like the greatest matches of the Attitude Era, and
Yes.
I'm effing struggling to be
Yeah.
totally honest with you. And honestly, the best match everyone says consistently is the Foley Taker Hell in the Cell match. For presentation, yeah, but I'm talking about actual wrestling. Like,
Yeah, for the actual match itself, that match ended up not being much of anything because Foley wasn't
was half dead.
conscious and it was actually the fall through the cage into the ring that knocked him out, not the one
Yeah.
through the table. He was still awake for that, but when if you watch that match again,
Yeah.
you'll notice when
You
he
can
falls
tell.
through
The chair.
because that cage, he wasn't supposed to fall through the cage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
It,
cage
it was
not
supposed to be
break.
rigged, even though they were stupid to think that he wouldn't. It's a 300-pound guy getting
Yeah.
slammed.
And
but-
it's
yeah.
another 300-pound guy. It's gonna come up, yeah.
Exactly. So, but he landed on the back of his head really hard, and I believe he wrote in his book that from that point on, I think the next thing he said he remembers was being in the hospital later that night and
Oh,
getting
wow.
a call from it was either Vince or his wife. It was one of
I think it's Vincent. Don't ever do that. again.
probably Vince. Yeah, didn't even remember anything after that, which might be
Well, yeah.
better that way.
Well, 'cause
Probably.
Well, I mean, yeah, not. I mean, of course, we've had this series talk about concussions, but this is kind of making light of it. It's the fact that like he went to Taker after the match. Said, asked Mark, "Hey, Mark, did I use those tacks?" And the tacks were like all still in his
Yeah,
arm.
all over him because he took 2 bumps, I think, on him in that match, and then
Yeah,
Taker hurt himself, and then people forget that Taker hurt himself
He
when
broke his
he came
ankle.
down after Foley fell through. He
Yeah,
comes
that's right.
down and he messes his ankle up, and that's why Terry Funk had to run in the ring for that weird segment where he just ran in and then Taker
That choke
popped him. And chokeslam, yeah, they had to buy time because Mick's knocked out and
Taker's hurt.
Taker's hurt his ankle.
Jeez.
Insert Terry Funk to save the day,
Well, of course. Who else?
like
would
he
do that?
always
The
does.
legend. Yep, the legend. But no, like you were talking about match quality. The Attitude Era wasn't known for like people always
Correct.
look at it, I think, with the rose colored glasses sort of thing, like, oh,
That's
it was
why-
the greatest
And they're
time
wrong
in
to do it.
wrestling and all that.
That's right.
There were a lot of things that the Attitude Era did right. The Attitude Era
Yes.
did characters right. The Attitude Era was back when gimmicks still mattered, and there were things like that that you
Well-
like, you don't see these days. But you cannot say that the wrestling was better then than the
Oh.
wrestling was even better 15 years ago when
Well, there's a-
WWE was in a not really good place.
Sure.
Well,
Like the
there's-
level of wrestlers back then just weren't.
I mean, we've talked about one infamous match that I'm trying to get Mary Lee. I think we're gonna do it soon. I really want to do it like once a week, just do a show with her and I, and doing like the 2000 WCW year.
Oh, good God. Now, why do you want to do that to her? Why do you want to do that to her?
Because he wants
There
to
wasn't even a
torture
lot
me.
of great.
Well,
At
there was-
least
well,
with
'cause-
certain bad times in wrestling, you'd have at least some good wrestling to match
Well,
up. There wasn't really a lot of that going on.
That was
There-
just the end of days.
Well, the thing though, there's one clip I've watched how many times? Probably from Mary Lee, at least 1,000. With the hardcore match.
Oh
I know.
yeah. Yeah.
Which one?
Well, there's Brian. Well, Vinny Verheight like sums it up.
Oh,
It was like Brian Knobs.
It's not the match that he
Vin-
watches, it's the clip of Vinny talking about the match.
Yes, which makes it because Vinny loses. I mean, you watch Figure 4, right? Or listen to it, or this.
well, periodically, yeah.
Well, you should watch this one. I should send it to you. It's hilarious because Vinny just loses his goddamn mind. Like, because it's the hardcore match between Brian Knobs and Bam Bam Bigelow,
Oh, yeah.
and he gets counted out of anywhere.
Ah,
And Vinny, I mean, the nicest way to say he loses his shit. Like, I'm sorry he didn't have like a brain hemorrhage or a stroke. But yeah, he has like I fully thought he had a stroke that night when he like was recapping
Wow.
it. Because like he just
Jeez.
like I said, it's always like Brian's like the one who loses his shit. No, Vinny just absolutely
wow.
just
Yeah, Brian usually does on that
Yeah,
show. At least for
yeah,
the
yeah.
clips
Vinny's
that
a
I've
rational one,
seen.
but like Vinny this time,
no,
I've never heard Vinny yell like so much. Like, yeah, you gotta watch.
if you want to show her something from 2000 WCW that'll make her understand why they went out of business, just show
that
her.
is like,
I would
I
say
would-
show her the Russo the shoot from Russo at that bash at the beach. Show her what
But everyone's seen
precipitated
that.
it. Still though, that's a good example of okay, fine. There's plenty of crap that you can sift through. I like maybe you should show her the time that fucking Tank Abbott whipped a knife out on pay-per-view.
oh yeah,
You,
And they-
you remember
Like,
that
like a
one?
legitimate knife.
yes,
Like a Bowie knife almost, because he mistook. See, because he had never been in wrestling before. So when somebody told him about blading and gimmicks, he misinterpreted things. And on
Well,
pay-per-view, he whipped out this freaking Bowie knife, it looked like.
yeah. And he said, "I'll fucking kill you."
Yes, on pay-per-view. And I remember Kevin Sullivan because I watched one of the U shoots, or no, it was a year in WCW, one of those where Kevin Sullivan was talking about his like 4 months, 5 months when he was booking back in 2000 for WCW. And I must admit, I have a newfound I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm able to let some things go from his time there, knowing a lot of the shit that he had to deal with
Booking
when
his
it
own
came
divorce?
to what?
Booking his own divorce.
Well, more importantly, I meant from the Turner executives at the time.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
There was a lot of stories that he was talking about just dealing with them. My favorite being that you can't have characters hate each other on our show. Like, what are you talking about? Stuff like that he had to
Half of
deal
what
with when it
wrestling is about.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when you have to write a program with those kind of
I get
limitations,
it,
it
yeah.
definitely. But yeah, and then Sullivan walks up to Tank and's like, "What are you doing?" And Tank
Didn't
just played ignorance, like, "I thought that's what I was supposed to do."
Yeah,
It's a
it was-
hilarious clip if you've never seen it.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, that's
But no.
pretty funny.
But yeah,
That's
it was-
pretty
it was-
funny.
It was like, I mean, I think Russo so had to be. I think Russo booked it, but they fired him before the execution of the match.
I think.
Because if
That
I remember
might-
correctly, that's also the night where like Benoit won the title and he left the next day.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
well,
I got
the Abbott thing might have been after that, but it was around the same time period.
because I remember it was
when
on a
that
pay-per-view. It was, of course, it was like a leather jacket on a pole match.
Something like that. Yeah. Some Russo loved pole matches. He's a big fan of poles.
But but yeah, it
And I
was like,
meant that the way you think I did. Throw
I
it back
forget
in
it.
his face.
I mean, speaking of Russo and us, I still have that like restraining order like Cornette signed for us.
I do too. I got my copy. Best $10 I've ever spent in my life. That's awesome. Did you ever read it?
Oh, I've seen through it. It's
Pretty
stunning.
funny. It's pretty funny. I think they made a factual inaccuracy too when they were doing it, because at one point in the evidence area, I forget specifically because it's all legalese, but they made the mention that Cornette had followed Russo to WWF and to TNA, when in fact that's factually inaccurate, because Cornette was an employee of TNA for several months before Russo was brought in. And in WWE, he had been, I don't
very
know
long.
if he had been there because of the agreement with Smoky Mountain. He had been affiliated with
90
WWF for
93.
93. It started. I don't think Russo was even in the magazine as writing under the
95.
Vic Venom name until 90,
I was in-
late 94, I think.
Yeah, it was late
Something
94,
like
early
that.
95. But yeah.
So, I guess factual. And I guess the court judge or whoever signed off on it probably didn't need too much information and read off of it. I don't know. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny though. That I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
but like I
that's
said, but like, 2000. God, honestly, I still think you're big for wrestling today.
oh, absolutely. That's the thing that I can't. WWE's done a great job, I must admit, of convincing their fans that the Attitude Era, and specifically their show during the
Mhm.
Attitude Era, was Shangri-La and the
Well, the problem is
the
the fans
kingdom of
put-
heaven and everything. It's like on a week-to-week basis, it was probably,
Awful.
I was going to say, probably no better than what they do now. The difference was they had better talent, and more specifically,
Right.
they let that talent develop their own identities and
Mhm.
personalities instead
But
of what
yeah.
they do today.
Well, yeah, it's
That's
like,
the big thing.
It's people say like, I mean, I don't think it's even WWE doing it. I think it's just people saying it themselves. It's like, yeah, WWE was so great in the 90s. I'm like,
It's like, no, they might have, you could say they had maybe better characters or better people
Yeah.
playing those. Okay, fine. Yeah. The
I'll
Steve
give you
Austins
that.
and the,
I think that's a big part of it. I think there's a
But-
rose-colored glasses thing there, because
Yeah.
you are talking about Shawn Michaels, you are talking about Triple
Steve
H,
Austin
you are
and The
talking
Rock.
about
The
Steve
Rock.
Austin. Exactly. Like, just name a
Okay,
who's who
yeah,
of
okay.
wrestling, and they
The-
all
but-
wrestled
well,
at the peak
that's
of that
right.
era.
well, the
but
thing
on a
I'll-
week-to-week basis.
okay,
Oh,
don't,
sure.
Phil, do not shoot me. But the only thing I will give Vince Russo credit for in the Attitude Era is the fact he made like the hardcore title just as important as the world title.
That's
like,
not exactly a good thing, though.
No,
I don't think that's exactly a good thing.
Well, I'm saying that people remember like, the bottom of the card as much as they meant.
Well, okay, in that
That-
sense,
that's
I can
it.
agree with you there. I can
I think
agree
that's
with
what
you
helped.
there.
That's something that probably helped. That's why WWE was seen as like rose-colored glasses as Mary used, which I agree with that assessment 100%.
Oh yeah, because on a week-to-week basis, it is no better than what they do. In fact,
It's-
a lot of stuff that WWE was doing after the Attitude Era was qualitatively much better than.
Oh
what-
God, yeah.
Crash TV with the bathroom cam. You remember that, Scott, from back
Mhm.
then? Crash TV and
GTV.
who was it? Mae Young giving birth
Had
to
the
the
hand.
To the
hand.
hand.
Yup.
I do like they mentioned it like at the reunion or whatever, like the last time like when I was
Yeah, I saw that. That
with a hand.
they at least referenced it. Yeah, but I mean that stuff is really the peak of wrestling excellence. Like, come on. No, I
mean,
think it was the most successful period, and maybe that's why people want to believe it was the best, because it's the
Mm.
period that made the most money and was the most popular. Okay, valid, but we're not. But they don't talk about it that way. They say it was
No.
the best. Not
but
really.
it's definitely the terminology of it. I think that
Yeah.
is misleading because there are a lot of positive things that you can say
Sure.
about it, right? And you know, you can
Sure.
even look at it from a sense of that was the best time for WWE because they had gotten rid of the competition. That was the
Well,
moment
is even
they
before they got rid of it.
became the sole.
Yeah, even during the war.
But like by the end of the Attitude
Yeah.
Era, they were it. And they have
Yes.
been it. I mean, even with AEW now, which is probably
Yeah.
the closest. TNA had its brief shining moment.
They had
but
a shot and they blew it.
Yeah, they completely threw away any chance that they had. At least
Huh.
AEW is, you know, seeming to be on the right track.
Yeah.
But it's still when WWE won the end of, you know, the war and then the Attitude Era kind of followed into it. There was a lot that you just change. I think for a lot of people, that was the last time that they watched two wrestling promotions.
Yes.
So you
Well-
didn't have anything to compare it against. When you said how great the Attitude Era was, like you had just watched a terrible WCW ended on a terrible note, you know, as you all
Oh,
have
yeah.
mentioned. So one, you've got
Well,
that bad taste
actually-
left in your mind. So anything is going to look good in comparison. So that's probably part of it too, is people were misled. What I don't understand is how people still say it. How people
Yeah.
that have lived through the 2000s and, you know, 2010s, and like I get it. WWE has not been great all those decades, but quantitatively, what you're watching, like you said, on a week in and week out basis, it's better than what are your characters better? Maybe not, but your wrestling is better. And it is, at the end of the day, we're talking about a wrestling company that produces wrestling shows. If you're
Don't tell them
well, yeah, they don't want to be known as that.
Don't tell them
they're a
that.
movie company, I think they call themselves, or entertainment company. But
Yeah.
you know, it's kind of that.
Yeah.
There's a shift in all of that, and you know, if you lived through the Attitude Era, if you were that was your wrestling growing up, I can understand how you want that to still stand as the gold standard. But it's
Which is funny
Yeah.
because I mean, I think Scott will agree with me. We both lived through that era and we don't miss a lot of the stuff from that era. There's a lot
No.
from that era. I'm glad that it's gone, and discouraged that AEW to some
Mhm.
extent tries to bring back the hardcore crap. I mean, Scott, did you like it when Jericho had that stupid match with Nick Gage on Dynamite with when they had the fluorescent light tubes and the pane of glass and the Jericho just cut himself for no reason, literally, not even
Yeah.
in the match, just literally cut himself for no
Oh.
reason. Like, I'm hardcore. The pizza cutter.
Yeah,
Nope.
it's like why?
Do you, by the way, Marley, do you remember? And Scott knows what I'm gonna say as soon
Uh-oh.
as he hears it. But did you ever hear about the pizza cutter incident earlier this year with AEW that got them in trouble?
I remember hearing about it, but I don't know the
'Cause
full
it was-
details.
It was that stupid match with Jericho and Nick Gage. They're doing
Yeah.
their stupid hardcore thing, and Jericho's doing his stupid Painmaker gimmick that wasn't even that good in Japan when he did it against Okada. They're doing their stupid match, and Gage's big spot is he slices the guy's head up with the pizza
Yeah.
cutter. That's his stupid thing on the hardcore scene. So they do that spot. At one point, he gets the pizza cutter and he starts doing it to Jericho, and that's the break spot where they go to break. But AEW, when they go to break,
They go
got the split
commercial and
screen.
commercial. That's right.
What's the
Now-
first
now I
thing
know
on
what
the
you're
screen?
talking about.
Domino's Pizza
The
at
big
the
screen.
pizza cutter spot. You
I
couldn't
could not have been timed better.
you couldn't, and needless to say, Domino's was not thrilled about
Yes.
this, to say the least. But so for AEW, certain things they bring it back from the too much comedy
Well,
these days.
they had Cody take an unprotected chair shot not all that long ago. and
Yeah,
that was a
Cody's
big
done a lot
talking
of
point.
stupid things
Yeah,
when
he-
it comes to.
I
mean,
don't know
the
what
jump
he's
off the
trying to do
cage.
or be at this point, but yeah.
He wants to be a television star outside of
Yeah,
wrestling, but a
that's
television
true.
star. That's it. And for me and Scott were talking even before you came about Cody, how everything him and everything Chris Jericho have done in AEW from basically the beginning of 2020 to the present has sucked.
Yeah.
Horribly sucked.
But Cody did
Horrible.
end racism though, so I mean we can't be that mad.
I actually missed that promo when it first happened because I wasn't watching anything at the time because it was still COVID and I was still getting back into the product. But when I finally saw it, and I listened to Cornette's podcast all the time, so I listened to his review of it. Wow, that was definitely a jump the shark moment to be.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't even know what that feud was about at first. And then there was this, and then when I finally heard it was about the British versus America thing and the racism thing, and I thought the obvious two things. Well, first I thought, well, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Because my first thought was, we're friends with the British, right?
Yeah.
So that makes no sense. And then the obvious thing. Oh, sorry.
I was saying that for the last 2 weeks of football, but anyway.
Yeah, good point. Good point. But and then the other obvious one, because it's the feud was with Anthony Agogo or whatever his name was. It's like they're doing this the interracial baby thing and the whole segregation. It was segregated, but now it's not.
Yeah.
The guy is black that he's against.
That was
How
the
does
best
that make
part.
sense?
That
Or
was the
mixed?
best
How does
part
this
about
make
the whole thing.
sense?
It literally
made no sense.
None of it made sense.
And
It's just
And nothing Cody's done before or after that. You know,
Yeah.
the QT feud and the Malachi Black thing. I thought he was going to do that right, and I was proven wrong. I was proven wrong within the very segment because he
yeah, it
did the
didn't take
2-minute
long.
job, which was great, even though he did that stupid jump through the table, which badly timed. But then he has to do that stupid retirement promo. And I'm going to leave my boots in the ring, as if wrestling fans get that reference. And then he comes back. He wasn't even off for a month, I don't think.
He was off for
Maybe a
just
month.
enough time to film that Go Big show.
Correct. And then he
That's
came
all-
back right
yeah.
away, and they had the match right away.
Yep.
No, scratch that. They had the match a week after him and Rosario Dawson were fighting with Malachi Black. That's right. They did that on TV 1 week. And then they had Cody get the match instead of building that to a pay-per-view maybe
the
or
most
something.
interesting thing about that match
get it.
too was they had it at their Grand Slam show in Arthur
Yep.
Ashe. So big
Yep.
show, first time in New York City, big deal. Cody was booed out of
Yes.
the building. Like, he is supposed
Yes.
to be your baby face. That has been
Yes.
this whole character, and all this is, feel sympathy for me. Like, I just had a baby and this is great and I'm the hero here. Like, he
Feel
got
sympathy for me.
so-
Don't you love my wife so much? Everybody loves my wife, right?
He got
I get
so
it.
booed
Yeah.
that they had to address it. And they literally, like, he talked about it, like, in an interview afterwards. They asked him, like,
And it didn't help
how do
him.
you feel it? No, not at all. Literally not at all. Everything he
And-
does has made, they should have just turned him heel.
And now they're
When-
pulling the Roman Reigns, and now they're pulling a Vince McMahon Roman Reigns thing where they're
Yeah.
fighting it. They're
Yep.
doing this angle with armed Anderson. I'm going to
Yeah.
steal that one.
I
From
was
Cornette.
gonna allude to
Armed
that.
Anderson. Did you see the little the mock animation that Arn's Glock is all elite?
Oh my
I
god!
love that one. I'm sorry, I burst out laughing.
The
Not
fact
at
he-
Arn, but at the statement at that, because that was so
that clip, that
out
line was
there
in
for
Rod.
what-
That was in Rochester when he said that line.
I mean, that was. I'm
I was
just
like-
saying that's you don't assume to hear that from wrestlers or even managers nowadays. So I
Well,
thought it was a cool line, but it made me laugh. I must admit, I did do the spit take because I didn't expect it. You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that lets them take your car. I'm the kind of guy who blows his face off with my Glock. Wow, Arn.
Well, like there's two things I came away from that. Like I think Arn's got CTE.
Yeah, maybe.
You think?
Or he's
Second
drinking
of all-
again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, or that's other thing. But the other thing I was thinking too is like, good thing he had scissors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
Good thing.
fucking thing
Good
it's
thing he
scissors.
only had a pair of scissors. Good thing. Otherwise, yeah,
I
that
hope
Sid,
Marilee-
Sid might have been a 6'8" corpse in an English hotel room.
Yeah, I was saying Marilee gets that reference right.
I do get that
Scissors.
reference, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
that was a long one. That's true. That was a while ago.
yeah. I think my friends they thought the same thing when we said that in Rochester. Like, did he really say that? Like, and like then we're like, good thing. Good thing for scissors.
And all
No,
Sid
that's-
could ever
Squeegee.
muster up was a squeegee. What can you do?
Look, he
And then
did.
they had the promo with Arn where he's burning all of Cody's suits. You're too soft wearing these suits and burning them in his backyard. And then I think they just did one last week where now he's training them in a warehouse to toughen them up or something. And his wife's, they had like the intervention where it's like, you need to
Oh my
toughen up. I want to hear that from
Terrible.
Brandy. wanna hear that.
Absolutely. Like they should have taken that moment when he knocked Arn off the apron, and they should
Yes.
have had that be the beginning of a heel turn, because that is the only way that people are going to accept him right now.
Yes,
He is,
have
he is
him
not
and Brandy
over as a
come
babyface.
out. Have him and Brandy, since they want to be Triple H and Stephanie, let them come out and be Triple H and Stephanie.
Yeah,
Let them
exactly.
come out and do it, and he'll be getting garbage thrown at him in the ring for the right reasons every single time he
Mhm.
comes out. If he comes out and just starts talking about, I'm on reality TV, I'm hanging out with Shaq and Snoop
Yep,
Dogg,
look at
I'm
how
better
hot
than
my
all of
wife is.
I'm way over all of this. Hey, I'm bigger than all of this. You'd be nothing without me. I'm the real boss. Blah. Forget Tony Khan. Blah blah blah. It would be great, but Tony's
Tony's off on the mic.
not only that, but I'm just speaking of him as a booker right now, as a booker or as a writer, however you want to word it. First of all, he lets everybody do whatever they want, which is a terrible philosophy, and it shows.
Oh, come on, working WCW, fine.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems
Anyway.
like a lot of the stuff that he likes is not exactly productive right now. For example, there's a reason why Jericho is still even on TV. It ain't because he's doing great stuff. And I hate what they're doing with him now. This stupid thing with American Top Team and Dan Lambert playing the part of Jim Cornette on their show, and Junior Dos Santos wrestling. And they just put it on Rampage, not even on Dynamite, on Rampage for nothing. Like not even trying to make any money off this guy's reputation as a former UFC heavyweight champion, a legitimate badass fighter. They're not even trying. He just doesn't know enough, I think. He's still too new.
So I think that's part of it, but
Too
Scott
new
and I
to
have had Scott and I have had the conversation before that they have been relying on the big signing. It's
Yeah.
always somebody new. Like,
Yeah,
and
that's
whether
true.
or not it's a big, you're not gonna have CM Punk level Daniel Bryan signings all the time.
Yeah.
But even every time they do a battle royal, everybody's talking about like who's the Joker gonna be?
Yeah,
Who are they
yeah.
gonna bring in? Which
And their battle
formerly-
royals have been pretty much
released-
awful every time as well.
like which formerly released wrestler are they going to bring? Like all this stuff, whether they're there for a one-off, most of the time they're not. But like every single person that walks through those doors gets signed to a contract. Bobby Fish is there and he's signed to a contract. Apparently the Young Bucks were like really
Well,
high
I'll take
on
Bobby Fish over. I'll take Bobby Fish over a lot of the people they brought in recently. I'll say
sure.
that.
But I think the funny thing
But
about
you're right.
they literally sign everybody. There's not
Yeah.
a single person that they don't. Their roster is over like 100 people. So
I don't think they'll sign Rick. I don't think they'll sign Ric Flair right now. The
I
heat,
think they'll do like
Oh,
the
they
heat's
wanted
got to
to.
die down a little
they,
bit for
they
him.
were close. They were
I know.
right there.
And if it weren't for Dark Side of the Ring,
Yeah, they
they
would've.
may have signed him.
Andrade was like, "Hey, bring in my dad," like, let's go.
And,
Yeah,
and then
they-
speaking of which, that'll be where the daughter Flair ends up as soon as her contract's over.
Oh, yeah.
She is
Yeah,
gone,
she's gone. She's out the door.
like a light. She'd be gone already if she could,
I
without
think,
a doubt.
I think they're
without
trying.
a doubt.
I think they'll do like a one-off Rick now, even with all the
Maybe.
heat. It isn't do like a Four Horsemen reunion.
Maybe, yeah, that's true.
You've already got Tully there. You've got Arn there. Why
But
the hell
you
not?
can't- the thing
And they
is that
brought
you
JJ in
can't-
for a one-off.
You
That's what I'm saying.
can't do that unless you turn them heel. You can't
Fair
have Ric
enough.
Flair. Like you can't have the Horsemen not
Well,
be heel.
The problem is they're going to be cheered no matter what.
They were cheered, but the thing is, they were booed, but they were also cheered a lot in the '80s.
That's the thing, yeah. So they're
True.
probably going to be
yeah, I
cheered
guess
no
they're
matter
kind of like
what.
Bullet Club when they just would get cheered in America.
Well,
booed
I would say,
in Japan.
I'd say a better comparison would be like the NWO.
That's
But will
fair.
okay, so like we talk about the Four Horsemen reunion, right? And that's all fine and good. But the idea of Arn working with Cody and Ric Flair,
I never got that.
who was
Yeah.
Dusty Rhodes'
Biggest
really
rival.
big rival, like
Yeah,
how
it's-
you would reconcile.
And Arn,
that
and by the
sort of
way,
situation.
Arn was a pretty big rival of Dusty in his time as well.
Well, if you watch like, okay,
Yeah,
you have to
sure.
watch like, I would say 1990, what was it, 93 WCW when Rick came back. Like,
Yeah.
Arn teamed up with Dustin, and then Arn just beat the shit out of Dustin.
Yep, and that set up the War
Mm.
Games the following year, I believe.
Well, it's set up, but then because it's set up, then all of a sudden like, hey, Rick's gonna come back and take Dustin's side. And like,
with like in its what calls they have the Arn Anderson Ric Flair match.
Yep.
Which was great to the end, but anyway. And then also, and then like the one matches they have like a Ric Flair, and there's like Ric Flair and Sting versus Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman. And also, hey,
Yes.
Rick turned on Sting. Shocker.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like I mean I don't get the logic of it like at all. Saying
I
like,
don't
hey,
either.
Arn's
I know.
training Dusty or Cody rather.
And I agree that would have been the perfect time to turn Cody heel. Would have been when he knocked
Yeah.
Arn, or even when Arn told him off just recently, like you're a loser and I don't hang around with losers. And now unknown Nightmare Factory trainee, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They got to do it, but they're not going to. They're not going to because Cody doesn't want to. If Tony Khan was a booker who had any balls and any authority, that's
Or any
the second one
experience.
being the key. Well, yes, but if he was able to exert the authority that he does have over
Mhm.
everybody, they probably already would have done it if he was smart. Because that is the smart move right now. Nobody likes him. Nobody likes him.
I just can't stand Tony Khan on the mic.
And the show too. Anybody ever check out any of that reality show of theirs? I haven't, but I listened to the reviews. Listening to Cornette and Brian Last review it is better than watching it by far.
Oh, geez. So they watch it so that we don't have to.
They watch
Yeah.
it, so we do not have to.
We should send them both thank you cards for that.
Oh yes, very much so, because they at least make it entertaining. They make it entertaining because they're entertaining, but the show sounds awful. The show sounds not only just in the way it exposes things, but it comes off. They come off as so pretentious and just assholes.
Well,
I mean, they probably are.
They are, yeah. They just come off that way, and I don't know if it's they just have those blinders to how they come off to people. I don't know.
My problem is
That was
Go
kind of
ahead,
the same
Marissa.
way though, like I watched like the first season of Total Divas. I don't know much of what
Mhm.
happened afterwards, but the way that John Cena came off, your biggest baby face star, and he comes off as this total prick because he has an 80-page document for you to live in his house. Like he has all these.
I
fake
remember
forms.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
he came up, and Daniel Bryan came off as a real dick. Like
Which is
when
interesting.
he was injured and he wouldn't go to because it was too hard for him. He couldn't go to WrestleMania to support Brie in her final match because it was too hard for him.
Yeah.
Like they showed that on TV. Like you're taking two of your big stars here, and they're not coming off very well. So it does not necessarily surprise me that sometimes the reality of the person, it is kind of what you see, and it's.
Well,
it's
I will
interesting.
take Daniel Bryan's side on that last one only because you're working under the impression that WrestleMania last match meant anything to Brie Bella, which I
That's
would
true.
put money on the fact it meant nothing.
But she seemed
meant
very
nothing.
disappointed that he didn't come.
Oh,
So,
what a
I
shame.
mean, for TV, of course.
Well,
all of this could have
considering-
been
yeah,
played up for
considering they're
TV.
Considering they're married and they've got what, 2 kids
Yeah,
now?
2 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, things
He
seem
forgave
to
him
have
pretty
worked
easy.
out.
Yeah, she forgave him pretty
Well-
easily on that one.
I mean, the problem with the Cody, the concept of Cody and Brandy Rocha is like, if you're like Joe Blow, like who even casual wrestlers,
Exactly.
like,
I know exactly
why-
where you're going with this.
just like, why are they getting a show? Be like,
Exactly. And why do I want to watch this?
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
even think
I mean,
wrestling fans want to watch it. They're not very likable.
Based
as
on the
people.
numbers, they do not.
well,
They
like I
lost.
said,
They
something that-
lost nearly 60,000 viewers from week 1 to week 2,
Ooh,
and they were not doing that many, even with
that's a big
Dynamite
drop.
as the lead-in. They did not
Well,
do
yeah.
a lot.
like I said, it'd be like, I mean, Jesus, it'd be like if Triple H and Stephanie did a show like in the 2000, like in 1999, when they
Mhm,
started dating.
exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be like, wait, I kind of know who Stephanie is because she's the boss's daughter, but Triple H.
Why do I
right?
care?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why am I watching this? And
Yeah.
it said WWE, but and
Yeah,
maybe that's,
basically-
maybe that's why some people watch it. It's AEW
Oh, I'm sure.
technically, and I'll see some backstage stuff and.
The thing is, I said the funny thing, like funny mention Total Bellas is also you felt the best, like the best male figure on the show of all time. Super Dave Osborne's the father, the father-in-law.
Oh,
No, I forgot about that.
The John Lawrence is married to Bella's
That's
mom.
that's right.
It's
Yep.
like,
That's-
good God.
That's
probably
right.
that's probably
Yep.
the reason why John Cena
Weird.
dumped Nikki
Nikki.
Bella. Is like,
Was it
yeah,
Nikki?
which one? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Brian and Brie.
And you'll note she did not take very long after that breakup to find somebody new and get married.
Yeah, she knew
And-
what she wanted.
and have
She
kids.
wanted kids, and She had her baby.
Exactly.
Everybody wins. John Cena gets
She
to
knew
keep
what she
being John
wanted and
Cena
she got it.
And like I said, it's just the fun with like the whole fact that like, it's like my boss and his boss's wife and his sister-in-law were pregnant at the same time.
Oh wow. Yeah,
And
that
they're-
would. Am I the only one who was creeped out by that?
It's a twin thing.
In all
Well,
seriousness, I'm
really-
a twin.
honest-
I'm a twin. That's the thing.
But you're a
but you're
guy
not-
twin.
yeah,
Well,
So,
okay,
like,
but
so
that-
you
it
don't
still
you don't
just
under,
felt weird.
you don't
Well,
understand the idea of twins actually inseminating each other.
Well, thank
I'm
God
gonna
for
move on
that.
now, thank-
Yeah,
I'm
thank
gonna move
God
on
for
with
that. I'll say
But,
that. But that came off as weird. to me.
It was a little weird.
But I wonder if they had the same doctor and everything, because I only asked because that happened to my boss's wife and his wife and his sister-in-law.
Jeez.
They
I
had this-
mean, they were probably planning to get pregnant at the same time.
That's
there
even
is-
weirder.
Well, there
Is
is
that not
kind of like a,
weirder?
It's
I
a
don't think
it's
so.
a twin thing. It's honestly
Yeah.
a female twin thing. It really
Yeah,
is.
It's a
It's
no, it's a
definitely-
female twin thing.
I
Once
said that.
again, you're talking to a twin, and I don't get it. It's a
But it-
female
it-
twin
100%
thing. It's a
100%
mom
female
thing.
twin.
But I said the reason I only mentioned my boss's wife and sister-in-law is like his wife had the baby, and then a
Mhm.
week later his sister-in-law had the baby. But when his sister walked in, they had the same nurse too, coincidentally.
Oh wow.
And
That
they're
is
just
kind
like-
of crazy.
But
Now
the,
we're
the
getting-
nurse, but the nurse goes, "Didn't we just do this?"
That's pretty funny.
I get it. I get it.
And
Entirely.
my boss walks in and is like, that was my wife. This is my sister-in-law.
It's
and the best thing-
confusing.
Well, the best thing though is like truly when you first met him, when I first met his wife and sister-in-law, the only way I could tell him apart is like the fact that his sister-in-law didn't have a wedding band on. She was single at the time.
Wow.
Mm,
That's they were so identical.
yeah.
It's like I'm like, wait, which one are you? Oh, okay, you're not Dan's wife.
Yeah. It's very pathetic that those twins got the push, and even
Literally
I just saw-
everything.
I just saw something the other day where they're going to be doing WWE, and she's not disappointed that she's never going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Well, why in the hell would either of those two be in the WWE Hall of Fame?
They will 100% get into the WWE.
I know they
There they
will, but
are.
in all seriousness, what the
They already
Be-
are.
Because they are credited. Well, no, Nikki is. Bree's not.
Oh,
They're
thought
not
they were
in
together.
as like. I don't think so. I think it
I
was
thought they
just
went as
Nikki.
the Bella Twins, but they went as like transition between the Attitude Era. And,
Yeah, maybe they're
Yeah.
both in, but I did think it was just Nikki. But yeah, so that basically they are credited, whether rightfully or not, with being the front of this divas revolution. When the
Wow.
craziest thing, they were more diva than almost
Yeah.
anybody else.
they
Like,
would be
how are you
more.
going to credit them with like
Yeah.
wrestling is serious for women now when they literally
Well, now of
were-
course we all know Stephanie McMahon invented women's wrestling about 4 years ago, so I guess it's all a moot point anyway. Because that's what this whole
Oh yeah.
that's what this whole women's wrestling evolution was all about, making sure that the Bellas are happy because they're insulated by being one of them's married to Brian, even though that I don't know what that means anymore. And wasn't the mom married to Johnny Ace for?
she still is.
I think
She
they still
still
are.
is.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
said.
also
Super
is-
Dave.
So you have one
So
who's
there you go.
dating
The
the
ultimate
biggest star in
bootlicker
the
needs to make
company.
sure he's getting
Yeah.
his from the missus. And that's the way to do it, is to get.
Could you imagine-
Can't you let my daughters-in-law go in the Hall of Fame? It'll really help me out at home.
Can you imagine being coming home to that though? Like really, if you're like.
Well, if I had to come home to Johnny Ace, it would be pretty horrifying. Yeah.
I mean, especially like saying if you're just like Daniel, like you're like Brian Danielson, like fuck.
Well, that depends. Is Johnny Ace always on the people power scooter? Because
If
then
he
I could
is,
live with it. Then I could live with it.
He needs a scooter, or it doesn't count.
Yeah. If he's on the scooter, I can live with Johnny Ace. But if he's on his feet, as his wrestling career showed, it's usually not a good thing.
Yeah, I'll show Mary Lee the best of Johnny Ace as a wrestler.
Oh,
I'm sure it's pretty short.
I believe best should be in quotations.
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
that
was gonna
one.
say this is a pretty short one, right?
But the same way I'll give for your birthday next year in July for the I'll give you a mixtape of the best of Marcel Monceau.
Ah!
If you don't,
Yeah,
if
I
you don't
believe
get,
just to give a preview for that one, I think Cornette's nickname for Johnny Ace back in the 80s was Mr. Two Left Feet.
yeah, I would say
He was manager of him and Shane Douglas in the 80s. He was manager of them for
Oh,
a brief.
God.
The dynamic dudes
Dude.
on their skateboards and in their
The
Like,
dynamic
almost-
dudes.
yep.
oh
They
my
were
gosh.
they were both riding in on skateboards and in Zubas inspired clothing and
What?
yeah. Some
Oh, God,
fun
it-
stories about how
I was gonna say that's almost as bad as the whole like Scorpio Sky, Ethan Page gimmick in AEW right now, but the whole riding in on skateboards thing definitely takes that to another level of
Yes.
Oh, oh wait, oh, you forgot the best part, Phil. You really did forget the best part.
for
they
the
both-
dudes.
Yes, they both had mullets.
That's right. They both did at the time because that was when Shane Douglas still had his mullet.
Right.
Johnny didn't get rid of that mullet, I think, until the turn
I
of the century.
gotta see this.
Yeah,
Uh,
because I
well,
know
there-
Johnny had that mullet the entire time he was in All
and there-
Japan in the '90s, so he
and
didn't
there-
get rid of that one easy.
well, Baba's wife loved him.
Yeah, that's right, and that's right. That's why he got the push that he did in Japan, because
It was not because he was Road Ryan's brother. It was because Baba's wife loved him.
which is funny considering that would have been an even more legitimate reason with that specific promotion, because that's the Japanese promotion that launched the Road Warriors. So that would have been even more of a reason.
I wish he even knew.
Maybe.
But no,
I'm
the
sure
worst part-
Baba did. I'm sure Baba did.
I'm sure Baba did. I don't know if his
I'm sure
wife did,
Baba
though.
did. Yeah. But yeah, that's the only reason why Johnny was involved with all those great matches in the 90s that he was in Japan. There was no reason for him to be involved. Misawa, Kobashi, Dr. Death, Johnny Ace. One of these things is not like the other.
No, it would have been better if they actually rode the skateboards in.
I know, they
I'm
were just-
actually
I know.
somewhat, I'm
That's what
actually
makes it-
somewhat
I don't think they could.
disappointed.
I don't think they could literally. I would bet they wouldn't be able to stay on them.
I'm somewhat disappointed by how uncool this is now because I at least thought that these guys were
it's-
like
Oh,
surfer
no.
style, like
Oh
right-
no!
now they're in the
It-
gym working out. Oh, this is bad.
Oh yeah, it gets better. There was, in fact, I'll just reiterate a funny little quick Cornette story about because he was managing them and the Midnights at the time because they were doing a feud of which team is he, really aligned with, and the fans really hated the dudes back in the day. The Midnights were the heel team and they were getting the cheers,
Hmm.
but he remembered one specific sign in Philly where the sign and. Apparently, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, as the sign said, "Johnny sucks Shane's cock." And then in the locker room after, Cornette, just how you doing? Is like, "Hey Johnny, what's up?" And Johnny just kind of just forlorn, like, "Well, I guess I'm just gonna go suck Shane's cock." They're just so depressed at how bad they were being received by it all that they were
Welcome
both
to Philly.
reportedly they were both, but and granted they were the worst, but it was everywhere. Apparently they were both relieved when they were told that it was over, that they were at least given a chance to do something
Anything
else to
else? Yeah,
salvage
literally anything
themselves.
else.
That's how bad they were received back
Oh,
then.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it after seeing this video, which is literally just
And-
their Titantron on loop for 3
Yep.
minutes. I'm really not sure why
Exactly.
somebody
And-
bothered to put this together. But
Plus, in the ring, it didn't help him that Johnny was never a good wrestler and Shane had not yet become, because
mm,
Shane, in my opinion, Shane Douglas was a good wrestler and could be great at times, at moments, but he hadn't even gotten that far yet because I think he'd only been in the business a couple of years. So, yeah,
Oh,
it was
God,
a
it's
disaster. They were trying to cash in, I think, on the skater, the burgeoning skater culture. Maybe I don't know. The people in
But-
charge of WCW at the time were very out of touch.
yeah, clearly.
Well, when
It
I
was the
read,
Jim Herd years.
oh yeah, that explains everything.
Yeah.
It was probably the what was that? I'd say probably the third worst theme of the time too. The
Oh
Wicked
God,
Comedy-
yeah. Granted, that was kind of a burgeoning thing too, was theme music in general. But you're right, they did not do them any favors.
Oh, the
at,
best
least
one.
at least the Road Warriors had Iron Man to come into.
Well, that was like
You
the
know,
but that was like the Wild West then, dude. Like
I
the
know.
music themes. Because I mean,
Yeah.
what's his name? Like Bubba, like the late great Rage Flair, but Big Bubba Rogers, Big
Big
Boss
Bubba.
thing. Whatever you wanna go. He came out to the Peter Gunn theme.
I know. They were very new back. Promoters, I think promoters back then really didn't. They were
I
so
can-
used to there not being entrance
Mm.
music that at first they really didn't know how to deal with it.
Or they figured, hey, fuck it, we no one's listening. Like, I mean, I was so wonder how. Like, I mean, people criticize watching ECW on the network. I get it, but it's like, you guys, how many deals Paulie Pie did so they were so shady and slimy to get
Oh,
everyone?
God,
to get
yeah.
all those themes, yeah.
The famous
I mean-
quote from Paul Heyman on the ECW DVD: "If my father wasn't a lawyer, I couldn't have ran ECW. I got sued more times than Martha Stewart."
He's not wrong with that. Like, well, that's how he fun. That's how he funny. He was all the lawsuits
That's
against like WCW that he won.
That's right. That's
Like,
exactly right.
That's how he got half
It was
the,
very, yeah.
I mean, he's he's an asshole, but he's not an idiot. I mean, like
Correct.
like
Key
the-
difference.
Yeah.
Key difference.
like I said, the shit he like I still wonder the deals like the music deals he got because it's like I don't know how he
That's the
got
whole reason why. That's the whole reason why any or almost all ECW programming on the network, you'll never hear the actual theme
Yep.
that was in the arena. You'll never hear it. You can't. You
Yeah,
can't. You're just gonna get the dubbed in music from WWE, and then you gotta live with it.
I mean,
There's no way Paul got that music legit.
oh, absolutely not.
There's
I mean,
no way.
I mean, how many Metallica songs did he use?
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
All
Boy,
of
can you
them.
imagine? Metallica would have probably owned that promotion if they had gotten even an inkling. And this was
Oh,
the
yeah.
90s when they were at their biggest. Yeah. You saw what they did with Napster.
I was
What
gonna
would
say
they
that,
have
that
done
was
with
literally
a
back
wrestling
when
promotion?
Metallica was suing everyone
That's
for their
right.
music.
As a Metallica fan, that was a bad time. That made me down on them for
Yeah,
a while for that.
It's like God. It's like you watch
Very
you
not
watch-
hardcore.
if you watch EC. I mean, Inner Sandman, absolutely perfect song for Sandman.
Correct.
So, and here's the thing about it too, which is funny.
right.
So he shows up not every time, but like when there's a show in Philadelphia, specifically at 2300 Arena, you can bank on one of two things. One, Sandman's going to be there. Two, the Blue Meanie's going to be there. Literally,
Yep.
these two guys like still live in the area. They will come whenever they're called. So when Sandman comes out, now if they're not filming, it's fine. But like sometimes, like MLW, like they film for their program, you know, Ring of Honor, like they're filming, Impact, they're filming. So they'll bring him out to the legal amount of the music that you are allowed to have, and then
That'd be like-
and then they will bank on the fans to sing, kind of like how people sing Jericho in the arena,
Oh.
but like they literally bank on the fans because guess what? There's no rule that says a group of
That's right.
1,200 people can't start singing Enter Sandman. Like
Right, it's
Metallica
like-
can't do anything about it.
Or
Well,
like
it's
with
like
Punk now.
Yeah,
I was,
exactly.
I was just gonna mention that Punk's the crowd's in call personality.
But you know Tony paid for that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Daniel Bryan. They tried to get what's called Final
Final
Countdown.
Countdown?
Yeah.
I wish they had. Or I wish, even if they didn't want to use it all the time because it's not as familiar as his theme in WWE, that would be a perfect thing.
I don't
Perfect
hate his
entrance
AEW
music for
thing.
him in Chicago
Mm.
because that's Ring of Honor country. That's,
Yeah.
that's where he's most famous from on the indie circuit.
Like I said, I
It
have
would
no
be
problem.
nice.
I have no problem with the AEW theme now. I like it.
Yeah, I got no problem with it.
Yeah,
better
it's
than better than Big Show's AEW theme.
Oh, I trolled. Speaking of Big Show, I did.
No
I did.
BS.
I definitely I trolled.
But plenty
everyone.
of it apparently.
This was when some people were like saying who should be the first TBS champion because they're switching over to that.
You mean the hose champion?
Yeah,
This
the,
was pointed out-
TBS championship's going to be for the women, I believe.
It is, but
Which is
this is another reason why I love listening to Cornette's podcast because you learn new things. If you take a look at that belt, and I'm serious, if you pull up a picture of that belt, and once you see it, it cannot
You
be
cannot see it.
unseen because of the way that the TBS logo is, the way the letters are.
Yeah.
If you look at it, it will actually look like they're fighting for the hose title, HOS.
Do you know
Take a
what's
look.
really funny?
Oh,
I
take a
started
look.
typing in TBS championship,
And
and,
then it
that
popped up,
literally
didn't it?
comes up. Yeah. TBS championship,
Oh, God.
HOS.
now
It's
you got
true.
that. Now you got that stupid thing from the newsroom in my head. Now, thanks, Phil. when Don Kiefer goes, like they get
Oh
bowed out.
my
with
Oh,
that.
it looks like urine. It looks like urine. I love that one.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. I'm not talking about the graphic, the lettering. Exactly. I remember
the
that. one.
Hose championship.
Told ya.
That is a riot. Like I was looking at it first
Can't
for a
believe nobody
while,
saw that.
trying to see it, but you're right. Once you do see it,
It's
you can't,
over.
because I kept looking at it as like a lowercase h,
I
but
was-
no,
That's
there's
right.
a big
I
old
was gonna-
capital
it's a
H,
capital
staring you
H.
right in the
It sucks.
face.
It sucks. They made that the women's championship because I would say the first championship they should do to stick to WWE would be make Paul White the champion.
Oh, I just
because-
can't wait until he wrestles
well-
Mark Henry.
Well,
Oh,
the reason why he got called the Big Show is it was a jab at WCW
That's right.
Yeah.
because TBS.
The big
Oh,
show.
that's right. That's why it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they call him the Big Show.
Oh, those are always and promotions always do that. That's where the name Virgil came up
Yes,
in WWE as
and
Million
Vince
Dollar
in
Man's
WCW.
assistant because Dusty Rhodes' real name is Virgil Reynolds. That was a rib at him, and
And, like,
I think a subtle rib too because everybody always likes to make the joke that Dusty was really the first black champion in pro wrestling because of his character and how he talks and everything. He's
Yikes.
got that, you know,
It's like
and
how Bill
then,
Clinton was the first black president.
exactly,
Yes.
kind of like that kind of rib. Yeah, exactly.
and then of course they make rename him Vincent when he comes to WCW.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he names him Vincent when he comes to WCW. Or how when New Age Outlaws went to TNA and they were part of the Voodoo Kin Mafia,
Mafia, yeah.
VKM. Very subtle.
Yeah, it was
So
very thinly shelled fade. I mean,
there's a decent history of that type of
even
of tongue in cheek.
even if you want to hop in the way back machine, if you go back to what's it called, the AWF, as in the one that Herb Abrams ran.
Oh, gosh.
When
You mean
they
when he
had-
wasn't drowning in coke and hookers
Or baby oil.
or baby oil? That's right. Can't forget the baby oil.
But he actually had a wrestler named Davey Meltzer.
I remember that. I remember seeing that.
Subtle.
But Scott Keith on his blog would go over old observers as a thing that he does. And I remember because I got the whole AWF story. It wasn't a long one. And that's right. Davey Meltzer. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I think the Coke line Herb was doing was a little longer.
Of course,
God
the
almighty.
Steelers. Of course, the Steelers player starts to.
Was yeah, it was four. I saw it was 14-0 at the half. Pittsburgh
Oh,
and
Hey,
like,
like two of them are beating up on this Seahawks guy.
and Geno
Oh,
Smith
he,
had like six.
he literally just threw an elbow right in his helmet.
Yeah,
You know, that guy better
Yeah,
got
Chippy.
ejected for targeting.
Yeah,
All right,
Chippy.
come on, Gino. Decaf, not Lockett.
it was
Rushing
funny. It
does
was
me
like,
no good.
Decaf,
I-
not latte.
Decaf, not Lockett.
what was it? What game? What was the Houston Texans game? Anytime the Texans got a penalty, the whole crowd started chanting, "You can't do that."
I heard that today as well. I forget what game I was watching. It was either no, it wasn't the Patriots Cowboys game. Who played the earlier game
It was the,
on CBS?
I
Was
mean,
that,
I know it's
is
Jacksonville.
that Washington and Kansas City?
Washington and Kansas City. Yeah,
I didn't get
think
that game.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I think
That's
it
one
was,
I got.
I think it was during that game that they chanted that as well. It was like one person, but it was really loud, and I was like, "What the heck are they chanting?" Yeah, it was like this one dude, but
Huh.
man, he must have
Oh,
either been right by the camera or
Or the microphone.
yeah,
Yeah.
very loud.
Or he's
We were-
very,
we-
yeah. he's-
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these we just supposed to do for the egregious calls. Like the whole crowd was chanting, "You can't do that."
Which, that's funny.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a good chant.
we had nothing better to do. We were up by 40.
They made me
Oh,
think
good,
like
yeah,
a-
good
a
point.
freaking wrestling show. Like that sounded like a wrestling chant.
Oh,
When I
it did?
heard it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's interesting.
That does sound like a wrestling.
I
show.
got I just
Maybe they should pick that one up. If a wrestler
Maybe chanting it all the
interferes,
time.
maybe yeah, when a wrestler interferes and hits a guy with a chair,
Or, like-
you-
or no, or it's like the old Dan Bryan. I got to 5. Like have him.
oh yeah, that
Doesn't
could
it?
be good.
Yeah, have Dan Bryan reply with that though.
Yeah, that's true.
Like having to like choke him on the ropes. Something. You can't do that. I got till 5.
Yeah, oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. That would be cool. Yeah. So
Yeah, stuff like that. But anyway, like you said, we covered a lot.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
we did good times.
Absolutely.
Feels like old
Good
times.
times indeed.
Yeah, you
Feels
gotta
like
check out our
old
show. I mean, honestly, like I told Phil like a little bit. Like I think Melanie and I think our show's been, I would say, better in a way because like we've had some really good guests. I should say.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, for
Like
a show
we-
that nobody watches, we've done a really good job of getting people to come on.
Yeah, it's
We're,
Yeah,
we're,
it's-
we're really good snake oil salespeople.
That's already one up from the old show then.
oh god,
We had nobody
absolutely.
watching, but we couldn't quite get the full caliber of guests.
Oh yeah, like it was like I asked my buddy JP, who's user for the golf show. I was like, hey, you want to come on, catch up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had my boxing guru on a couple of times. I think I brought my cousin on once to complete a panel discussion for the Observer Awards one year.
Yeah, we merely had her friend Scott come on. The
Well,
other Scott.
that's right. The other
That's
Scott.
true. The
Kevin-
other
Kevin
Scott.
Lee.
We have like
Other Scott.
and RJ's around somewhere. Not doing. I know his health's not doing well, but he's still
Nick's
around.
been on. Nick was on a couple of
Mhm.
times as well.
I'm still mad at Nick because I tried to get a hold of him for when I went to Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, that would have been the perfect time.
I mean, I Mary, you have many times I messaged him that week. I'm like, hey, I'm coming down to Philadelphia. You should come to Extreme Rules. And like they went to like Virginia Beach that weekend.
Mm.
Oh,
But they probably already
Now.
had the trip planned.
I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
me too.
I highly doubt it was. Oh shit, Scott's
Yeah.
calling. Got to think of an
Yeah, let's
excuse.
go to Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Not like let's go to the Jersey Shore. Let's go to Virginia
All the
Beach.
yeah,
which is funny because the only funny thing is like my friend Eric I haven't seen since high school, who sat like right below where Marilyn and I sat for the Extreme Rules show. He actually came from Virginia Beach to go to Philadelphia.
Ah,
That is really funny.
bring it all home. Bring it all the way.
Maybe,
back.
maybe
Absolutely.
that's the thing that maybe him and Nick aren't allowed to be in the same place at the same time, so they switch off
Maybe.
who goes
Like-
to Virginia Beach.
That could
Maybe.
be- I don't doubt that.
It's like
I
a
believe so.
Zodiac killer thing.
Yeah.
You know, for the
Yeah.
longest time before we knew who this person was, you never knew who it could be.
That's
You
true.
just-
Well,
yeah, have you ever
yeah,
seen? They always just say about Ted Cruz. You ever seen the Zodiac killer and Ted Cruz in the same place, same time?
Well, at least they finally figured that.
Well, yeah,
one out. At least they
now.
finally made that distinction.
well,
I'd probably
mean,
take the Zodiac over Ted.
I mean,
you wouldn't be the only one.
I mean, the only thing we forgot to talk about, and we'll talk about briefly, Phil and I talked about Eric like really quickly because we made a joke about it, was the fact that I was in segue. The only thing you don't see at the same time is Count Van Count and Gary Bettman at the same
Hmm.
time.
You also don't see Gary Bettman and Satan in the same place at the same time. So
Exactly.
But they are business partners.
they very much are.
Yeah, because we were talking about we talked about who's in first place right now. Who's got the best record in hockey?
Yeah.
Well, do you know what's really weird
Good
about how
old
they opened
Buffalo.
this season? So they're like the Flyers played their first game Friday. Literally more than half the league had already played 2 games at this point.
Yeah.
And there were like
I was gonna
8
say,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah, there
That's
were
a
like
late
opening-
start.
It was
Opening
really
night was a
weird.
week ago, right?
They
Yeah,
opened
opening
and
was
it was
Tuesday
like
night.
a third of the teams
Tuesday
played,
night.
and then like a couple days later, another third played.
Huh.
But yeah, by the time Friday came, there were still 8 teams that hadn't played a single game. It was
That's an
really
interesting
weird.
schedule.
I blame the Kraken.
Yeah, there we go.
That's
Boy, is that going to become the thing this
part of
year?
it. Yeah,
Release
blame
the
it on the
Kraken,
Kraken.
blame the Kraken. Either way.
They played a really good first game.
Yeah, they said the weird thing is that's the first place team right now in hockey is the Buffalo Sabres with their 2-0.
Well, there's literally
He's
been,
got to
like,
enjoy it. He's
2
got to
games,
enjoy
so
it.
yeah,
while
it's
he's got
true.
it.
It's
Well,
true.
well,
Gotta
well,
enjoy it
well,
while he's got it. He hasn't had it for a while.
I mean, that's like 2 more games than they won all of last year, so
I know.
I get it.
Well, that's right. I told Phil.
what was it? The
road
the,
to road
the road to
280.
280. Yep.
I mean,
At
like,
least
I'm-
your
180.
expectations. At least your
280.
expectations
I
aren't
have
set
zero
too high.
expectations. I have 0. I don't think they're even clear that. Like, I mean, I took my. If you don't know, I took my nephew. I think I told you, Phil.
Mhm.
But I took my brother, my mom, and my 2 nephews from Hawaii to the Sabres opener.
Oh, that's nice. At least they got to see a good game.
Yeah, I mean, they won 5-1 against Montreal too.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, you don't
I
do
mean,
that
nice
every day.
Oh, the guy that sat next to these guys from Quebec, you could tell they were definitely from Quebec. Like, you guys were really in the cup last year. He's like, I mean, there were some definitely Quebec fans there that had a sense of humor, which made it great.
That's good. That's
Well, I mean,
always good to know.
Well, our stadium was also like half full. I mean, it's a cross between one we're the worst team in hockey. Let's just be real
Yeah.
here. And also the fact that like we're a border town and we rely on like a lot of Ontario traffic, and Montreal's teams, they travel. They really
yes.
do.
Yeah.
And
And I'd
the same-
assume Montreal to Buffalo probably wouldn't
Yeah, it's
be.
probably not that far, right?
it's
the
like
hardest.
it's like 7 hours
That's not bad.
by
That's
car.
not bad.
But you can't cross.
That's-
But with the border closed, you can only fly in.
Oh yeah,
Not
that's
for
right.
long. Not for
I
long.
hope not. That's gonna help us a lot.
I think when did they say that it's opening for
But-
Canada and Mexico? It's soon.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can go there. They just can't come here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the-
that's we'll be
Okay.
able. U.S. citizens will be able to start
travel
traveling.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Well, the funny thing though is like, what was it like? Yeah, like they got called for 2 men in the ice, and one of the guys like 5, like we were down really low. We were like 5 rows behind the home bench and everything. It was really cool. Like they
Would you
they
pay
might
for
have
that? Like $8?
face value. But I'm surprised.
Face
I
value?
yeah,
That's
no,
not
but-
even resale value. That's just what the Sabres are
Oh.
selling it for.
yeah.
Dang it.
So anyway,
Oh.
all jokes aside, like yeah, I fully expect like I expected to lose 5-1, not win 5-1. But anyway, so Montreal gets called for 10 minutes ice, and the guy, this definitely a guy from Montreal that flew down, goes, in Canada with the exchange rate, that's actually 6 guys. It's actually 5 in Canada, so it doesn't really count.
That's
I
a good
couldn't
one.
stop laughing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's good. That's a good one.
I like
I
that.
never thought of that tact.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. I mean, these guys, like the guys in like farms were from like Montreal too. They were great with my nephews. Like, they're like, hey, where are you from? Like, and my Mexican game was like Hawaii. Like, Hawaii.
Like they don't have
And
a
you-
team there.
Yeah, you guys came here, really? Like, yeah.
I was gonna say, I think they were probably thinking, if you're from Hawaii, what
Why
what are you
come to
doing in
Buffalo?
Buffalo? Like,
Well,
what are you
there's
doing
a-
here?
What? Yeah, and of course, Karen shut his mouth. He just goes, yeah, because there wasn't a Bills game this week.
Ah, nice.
He's like,
That's awesome.
and I mean, the guys were great to him. It was like, he's like, oh, I hope you have a good time. And they helped explain the rules of hockey because hockey is such a hotbed in Maui.
Yeah.
Street hockey, maybe.
Actually,
Yeah.
they do have street hockey leagues in Hawaii. They really do, but it's like,
Yeah.
That doesn't
would make-
surprise me.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
there's no
this-
way they have ice
but like I
hockey.
said, they had a blast. I mean, they won 5-1. It helped.
That's good.
And I got like, okay, well, you have to sit to their 2 national anthems because we're playing a Canadian team.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
It's like,
Culture.
yeah, education with the updated like Canada lyrics. If you've never heard, they did update the lyrics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they made it more inclusive, which is nice.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. I
Well,
never. Yeah.
If you hear like the line, it's like, "Oh, Canada, our native land," like blah blah blah, and it's like, all our sons on command. Now it's all of us instead of all thy sons.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They
yeah,
beat
I
us to it.
see.
Well, are you surprised?
We still have
Yeah.
a national anthem that is way too many.
We still
years
have a
out.
national anthem about a battle we lost.
That's national.
And that's America. That
I mean,
was
we're-
us in a nutshell.
Yeah. Hey, we're all. Hey, if you're not first, you're last. And only winners succeeded. If you lose, that whole thing. But our
Well,
national anthem's about a battle we lost, and how it's a moral victory that our cloth was on top of the fort. Well,
Well, that
Okay.
and the fact that I was like my
kind of weird when you think about it.
It is weird when you think about it.
It's all stupid shit like that. Like, to be the American history geek of the group, because I can't help myself. It's like the Battle of New Orleans. Like everyone talks about it. It's
Yep.
like great. Do you know when that happened?
Not
After.
New Orleans.
Let's put this. It happened. It was part of the the War of 1812. It happened in 1814.
And it
Yeah,
happened
this-
after,
The treaty was signed.
long after the treaty
yeah,
is
it
signed.
no
Here.
longer matters.
Yeah.
Boy, you can. That's
and
gonna
then-
take. That's gonna take more than an oopsie to fix that one. But
Well,
yeah,
Andrew Jackson became president, so we can just leave it at that.
yeah, that's true.
And the Trail of Tears is really popular here, especially here around the Eastern Seaboard a little bit.
Yeah. And they don't, yeah. And people got all pissy when they wanted to take him off the 20, forgetting the fact that Andrew Jackson, and a lot of people apparently did not know this, but Andrew Jackson did not believe in paper money. He thought it was a scam.
Andrew
the fact-
Jackson would have been annoyed if he knew that his legacy ended up being money. The same thing as like
Exactly.
Alexander Hamilton. Like Hamilton fought so hard against,
Exactly.
and we go and we put him on money.
I mean, we have
Well,
no
it's like-
self-realization
no.
here.
Well,
we just don't care about these people.
Yeah, that's
well,
true, too.
well, it's like Robert E.
We want to
Lee.
seem
I
like
mean,
we do.
I mean, you've probably been to Robert E. Lee's house and land.
Yeah.
At least Melody, I'm pretty sure has.
I've been told I'm a descendant.
That's
Wow.
even better.
I wouldn't call it better.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know if that's
Well,
quite the word for it. but-
well, the joke though is like, if you've probably been on his land even. If you've been to Arlington National Cemetery, that's his land.
I've
That's
not
true.
actually been to Arlington National Cemetery.
That's true.
Yeah, that's. I mean, isn't that messed up? Though? It's like the guy. I get it. He did, but all of our dead soldiers are buried on his land.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
pretty unfortunate.
And
A little-
and
A bit
And-
morbid, yeah.
a little, like non-revisionist history here for anyone like that actually is listening to our show. He did not want to be made into a statue.
Mhm.
He was pretty
A
clear
lot
about
of-
that.
A lot of the people who got statues actually did not see the point of them. So yeah, as
And while I'm on this whole pissed off rant about like illegitimate statues, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about the one in Stone Mountain, Georgia, shall we?
oh,
Here we go.
Because just do
he's not
Just-
wrong.
No, not at all.
He's not wrong.
you know the date it was open to the public?
Yeah, it's 70. I saw this on John Oliver when they showed a news clip of Spiro Agnew giving the dedication, which
Yes.
opens things up to all sorts of other humor. But
The
it was in
date
71 or 72
a little earlier.
when that 70. When it was finished.
It was finished and they opened it to the public on April 15th, 1965.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great time.
Well,
Yeah,
do you know-
exactly. Yeah,
do-
boy.
Do you know why it's a big deal? And they perfectly put it on that date.
Why
It's
that
the
date?
Hold on. I'm going to hate myself because I feel like I should know this.
It's the 100-year anniversary of Abraham Lincoln being assassinated.
Yep. I figured I was going to hate myself
Sounds
when I
about right.
found out. Yeah.
God bless
Message.
America.
God bless America.
Message.
I mean,
On-
can we get like 1997 Shawn Michaels back and have him place like Canadian flags with all the American flags and have him like dry hump and wipe his ass with? Like,
Yeah. Well, Trump was taking care of the dry humping of the flags already.
I think he burned them all.
Yeah, I don't want 2021 Shawn Michaels doing anything. That bald head. Don't work.
See, this is why I got to get off the shelf. You beat me to the jokes tonight. I was going to make a bald joke at Michael's expense because I just know I don't watch, like, I have not seen him in photograph,
Yeah.
video, or whatever in years. So I didn't even realize it had gotten to that point.
No,
with
he just
him.
shaved it.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying I didn't even realize
Yeah,
he had done that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he did.
that was
What,
pretty funny to see.
didn't he wear like a hat in the ring in
He
Saudi
used
Arabia?
to used to have the cowboy hat, and it was
And,
no,
he had
no,
the and he had like a trucker hat almost for a
yeah,
little bit too.
that's right. He
No,
had
I'm
that
saying-
one too.
No,
Like a
I'm saying,
baseball cap.
No, when he came out of retirement for that one match, I can't imagine what Vince paid him for it. But
Oh, that was the Saudi one, right?
Yeah,
Or
but
it was him and I don't even remember.
Terrible.
If I don't think I even saw that one.
Nope.
Now that I think about it,
but
yeah,
it was,
him and
he wore. It was him and Triple H versus the Brothers of
Versus
Destruction.
Big Brothers of
and,
Destruction.
Kane. Yeah,
Yep.
Taker and Kane.
But the thing though is that was the first time everyone saw Sean's ball, like fully bald cue ball.
I did not see that match. I did not see.
Yeah,
that
that's
match.
not on my list of C's.
Yeah, it's not a must see. You can
Since
Tend to
it's
stay,
Michael
tend to
said
stay away from
afterwards-
those Saudi shows anyway.
And since Michaels said after the later on that he wished he had never come out
Yeah,
of
he
retirement for
regretted
that
it.
match, so it really wasn't worth it.
But you completely ruined.
Probably
Now,
worth the money.
I get his logic of being like, well, technically,
I
it was-
need
it was
money.
still- but no, like the whole like, well, technically, he was still against
It's not America.
Undertaker, so like, I really, I kept my word of saying like Undertaker was
Yeah.
my last match. It's like, well, yeah, you can say that on a technicality, but dude,
Well,
your actual last match, there was a lot of respect there because a lot of wrestlers have come and gone out of retirement, and you did not. You were the guy
Yep.
that they had
Well,
presented
it's-
you with dream match after dream match.
Yep.
AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, like the
Pump.
list with matches that he could have had, and he turned them down because he wanted to stay true to that
It's-
stupid retirement.
That's Saudi
then-
money. That's
Yeah.
Saudi money.
Oh yeah,
Well,
did,
You
did
know we
you
got a
hear,
good amount. Mr.
did you hear
Bonesaw
they-
definitely gave him a little bonus under the table.
did you hear who they wanted this year? Which,
No.
which was an awkward conversation that WWE had.
Yokozuna again?
So well, like in the past,
That
how
was
they've,
funny.
they've asked for like dead people.
Yeah.
Well, this year they asked for a bunch of AEW wrestlers.
Oh, for God's sake. That's hilarious.
They're like, we want CM Punk. We want-
Oh, that's hilarious.
and WWE had to have the awkward like, we can't
We've
get
got
those.
some bad news for you. I'm sorry.
Be like, we would have had a better shot of getting a Yokozuna even though he's dead. Like we can't get these guys for you.
Jeez.
Well, I was going to joke and say, like, yeah, with Shawn Michaels' last match being Saudi Arabia, but it's like, the Jackson Jaguars today, did they really lose because it was in England?
I mean,
Did they really win?
it technically
enough.
only counts in Saudi Arabia.
Apparently. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I digress.
actually, I was telling Scott, that's why I have not watched WWE in probably 2 or 3 years at this, 2 years at least.
Honestly,
They still have that relationship.
Not only the relationship, because I'm pretty realistic and cynical enough to not let that phase me too much. It was the delay / hostage situation on the runway
Mm.
after that one show.
Gotcha.
And then where the crew got their chance when they got back to speak up and did nothing.
Yeah.
At that point, I just washed my hands and said, I don't care anymore. You get what you deserve. Good
Right.
luck. More power to you. And I haven't watched them since. And me and Scott were talking, and I keep up with results and the doings, but I don't watch the program. I don't watch the pay-per-views. And the only thing I regret missing is all of I was telling Scott, the only thing I really regret is missing all of Roman Reigns' stuff. And Lashley, now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I've heard Lashley's been doing some good stuff over
Yeah,
the last
finally.
year. Him and MVP have that I
The
forget what it's
Hurt
called.
Business.
The Hurt Business. And good name for it too.
Well,
You
I
take
mean,
those
one-
two things out of the equation, and yeah, I could care less.
well, I mean, one thing I'll give W credit for right now is the fact that they're very more diversified than ever.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, and I mean they've gotten
took
to a
'em-
point like they actually have women's matches on the Saudi show, which is something of a thing in and of itself. But there's more of a PR
Properly
behind
covered.
that.
Properly covered.
Yes, that's true. But they have
Can't show
two
no
women's
skin.
matches this year. I think Sasha Banks is probably going to be in both of them, just because that's what she does. No, but I definitely see your point on the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back kind of thing, and it's funny because they just had that whole like plane ride from hell, Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's Plane Ride from Hell Part 2 because
Plane ride from
somebody-
hell too. No
you know-
ride this time.
you know somebody's going to talk about it. It might
Oh,
take
God,
some
yeah.
time, but you
Yeah.
know that story of what happened is eventually
Oh,
going to come out.
absolutely. Absolutely. Of
I
course,
mean,
that was
yeah.
after McMahon 1 was safely in the air with Hogan and Flair and
Oh, yeah.
Lesnar and Vince and those guys on the
Yeah.
on the plane.
Yeah,
Those
all the
guys,
good people
Well-
got out.
those guys
Yeah.
were on the plane.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't feel like, I think, like the problem is like I think with the Dark Side of the Ring one is like they blurred a lot of like the play. The problem is it's like which one?
True.
Yeah.
The
I mean, 'cause
one where Ric Flair made somebody touch his penis. That's
Yeah.
the one. That's
That-
kind of
that-
what it comes
I
down
remember
to.
now. I watched that episode not only for fascination and to hear all the stories, but I remember how it was reported on when it happened.
Hmm.
What
They
the
were pretty
stories were.
detailed.
When it happened,
But
and they
see,
were pretty
that's-
detailed back then. But I didn't realize how much they glossed over Flair stuff back then.
I think
and that's
Because back
that's
then they
kind of-
reported on him naching, as he called it, with the robe and being naked, and they mentioned him flirting with the stewardesses and
Not yeah.
getting. They did not go into the detail that of the actual. I'm gonna,
But
pin you in
he-
the corner of the galley and make you touch my dick. Like that was not
Yeah.
really mentioned back then.
but
and
the rest
that's
of
why
it
it
was.
Yes, a lot of the stuff was, and I still stand by it. Michael Hayes got exactly what he deserved on that flight, and Kurt Hennig's prank is still my favorite from a childlike perspective. The old shaving, especially because
It's such a harmless prank of joke too.
Right.
I know
It's not-
to do it to Lesnar. Granted, Kurt's kind of the same size, not as big, but same height, and I do, and I love the reenactments on that. I agreed with something that Cornette and Last said that the reenactments were the best for that episode because they were
Mhm.
necessary to get the. I love that image of Kurt with the shaving cream and just, and then of course the Three Stooges whoop, 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 run that they got him doing down the. But Michael
Look.
Hayes, I mean, holy cow, was that guy must have been gone.
Oh.
And I know,
There's no
and
way.
I know Joey Styles knocked JBL out in one punch, which would have been awesome to see. But JBL still is a guy that I would consider one that you wouldn't really want to mess with for nothing.
Yeah.
And to know that he was busted open, to know that, and to what when he's sleeping,
Yeah, that
when
was
he's sleeping in his
You gotta
chair,
be
and to
insane.
just cold cock him like that. And then the part that I love the most is that I didn't remember it being written that I remember JBL knocked him out. I didn't realize he palm slapped him Boss Rutan style and knocked him out. That was fun.
Well, the best to me is like all for the Dark Side, honestly, God, is the reenactments. It's not even that one.
Yes.
Like I mentioned the Herb Abrams one. It's like I think Cornette asked, where do you get all that where do they get all that glitter?
I know. But yeah, that plane ride from hell one. Wow. Yeah, that was quite
That
a
was-
wild one.
The problem is like I mean, if Rob Van Dam's your most normal person on the show, you might have problems.
Yeah. If the pothead is the soberest one, and and I'm
Yeah,
not even
you should
knocking
work.
him for that, but it's like,
No,
geez,
Yeah,
But
it's like,
man.
if RVD is like your most normal person you've on your show, even Mike
he must have
Chioda
been the
was
one
like,
guy
shit.
who stayed out of the liquor during that flight.
Well, I don't think he drinks.
I don't either. I think that's true. I think he's just a pot guy,
Yeah,
which, hey, it turns
Whatever.
out, and for that flight, it turned out to be a
Really
much
smart.
better strategy. Because the fact that they went through 3 liquor cabinets before
Well-
the thing took off.
well, if you're stuck on I mean, if it was
I know,
today,
you're stuck on the
we-
tarmac for 7
8 hours.
hours, I think it was.
Yeah.
I've been stuck on the tarmac for, I think, a half hour once, and it was hell. So I can only imagine what these guys are like.
Yeah, just add liquor, a free access to liquor,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah.
it's not-
Unbelievable.
and it's not a company. Like you said, it's not. It's a freaking chartered jet. It's not a commercial plane.
For that one, I
Right.
must admit, Mike Chioda was one of the more interesting interviews of that, just because of his word choice. Like I remember when he was telling us what H bombing is. and he was going
He's-
through.
He
And then
must
it's like,
smoke-
well, you can use it for rape too. Really, Mike? Are you sure you should mention that part of it?
he must
Yeah,
smoke like
maybe
3.
don't say that.
I know
He's
he
right.
smoked.
I mean,
That's gonna get-
he's right. It's the date rape drug, but you don't. The way he said it was just
Yeah,
like,
it's like-
okay, a little callous when we're talking about this.
Well, it almost seems casual in a sense of like, did you know wrestlers
Yeah,
who
exactly.
used it for
Exactly.
that?
That's
Like,
why
yeah,
it kind of came
maybe-
off that way.
Maybe keep
I'm
it
not,
that
and I'm not trying to insinuate anything. It just came off weird.
Right.
That way.
Well, the problem is like I mean I know he smokes. I've seen him smoke outside wrestling buildings before,
Sure.
but he must smoke like 3 packs a day.
Who, Kyoto? Yeah, because
Oh,
that
God.
voice is really raspy
deep.
voice going on there.
I mean,
I can only imagine
Brian-
what it's going to be like when he gets old.
I mean, he is old. He's like, he's
Well,
almost
but you know what I mean. I mean, like
Yeah.
old. I mean, like
Yeah.
when he's Vince's age.
507.
Well, there you go.
never die.
Well, I was just-
507, but with the body of a lean 130-year-old.
exactly. I was gonna joke and say, I mean, Kyoto's voice is so raspy. I think Pillman said your voice is a little much, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And Pillman's
Yeah,
voice
that
is,
was. I believe Hall when he said that he believed he was H-bombed and that's why he was passed out for most of the flight. Because I believe him when he said
Yeah.
his rationing was, or his reasoning, excuse me, was, well, I've been drinking and taking pills for years and I've never been out. Like, well, it's true. That is
I mean-
documented by many people.
Dodgers just
So
took
I
the
be-
lead.
Oh, fun. So I believe that part of it. I believe that Hall was probably, and knowing
Oh.
Kurt's history as a ribber, I can also imagine that he probably went around dropping that into as many drinks as he could probably.
I mean, I just thought about it. Like, yeah, you mentioned Hall's drinking and his pill addiction. I mean, it's not really funny per se, but it's like I remember this story. Like, it's on YouTube. I've seen it 1,000 times. It's like,
Mhm.
or kayfabe commentators, I should say, to be proper. And he's talking about like, and Kevin Nash is talking about it because it was like when he mentioned one night that him, a friend they found Christ, and Scott Hall.
Oh, Christ.
I love how that's how Kevin.
I know. He does refer to him that way, which I love.
It's
Anyway,
like-
but yeah,
Yeah, so he goes like they had like 100 summers between the 3 of them,
I remember this story. I
Yeah,
do remember
and-
him telling the story. Yeah.
and Nash has 33, Sean has 33, and they're fine. And like Scott Hall has 34, and he's like kicking and seizing everywhere. And he's like, "Oh yeah, because the determining factors you had 34, we only had 33."
Yeah, that's why.
That's what did it. That's what
that
did it.
34th beer, that was what put you over the edge.
Well, Kevin Nash also said the greatest quote ever, and I live by it. It's like it's amazing how good shape you can get in because he was mentioned about Magic Mike how good shape he got in for the movies. He's like, it's amazing how good shape you can get when you cut your beer intake from 30 beers a day down to 2.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's good advice too.
It's great advice.
Yeah, some of those stories. I mean, even before the plane ride. Of course, boy, were they setting them up for disaster. We're gonna give you guys this chartered, first class, all your needs taken care of plane, but you'll be responsible with it, right? I mean, the Cornette quote and Jim Ross said something to the degree on the show. The boys will fuck themselves every time. I think Cornette said, get a deal on a hotel, they'll probably wreck the room. Or no, get a deal on a car rental, they'll probably boys will probably wreck it. Get a good steal on some hotel rooms, boys will probably trash it. And he's not wrong.
No.
They're not all like that, but I mean, how many stories has there been
How many
over
stories
the
have there,
years?
have there
about-
not been?
Andre alone has
Yeah.
some pretty memorable hotel stories. The bathtub.
When he passes out in the lobby.
Yep, put a tarp over it. The bathtub. Well, I mean, the bathtub story. You two have you've
Yeah.
heard that one, Scott, right?
I know the
Toilet
bathroom.
was not sufficient.
But it's like, I mean,
Imagine that.
I still think objectively, what do you do with someone that big if they pass out in your lobby?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
You're
get them
gonna
up.
physically try to move
Yeah,
them.
you can't.
Like
Forklift's
call
not
triple-
available.
Call AAA, maybe.
Yeah, I mean something. Yeah, so just put a tarp over him. He'll wake up in the morning. And yeah, he did. He did.
Well,
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
the hotel wrecking stories. I mean, those are. I mean, how many of those are legendary in wrestling? Let
just
alone-
sports in general.
Sports in general, correct. But I think
Yeah, no.
wrestlers more. I
Because
think
they
with
travel
sports,
more.
I think with sports, it's more coincidental. I'm not saying, that some don't go out of their way to do it, but I think in wrestling, it's almost a challenge.
Yeah.
At least back in the day, I think probably was almost like a challenge to
I blame
to
Fuji.
do that. Yeah, he might have been one of the. I blame Vince. One of the people I blame is Vince because he was one of the guys back in the day who wanted to party with the boys, tried to wrestle with them.
Yeah, there's stories like him, like there's like stories of Vince like challenging. I think was I think Brett mentions in his Hall of Fame speech when he in the road where like all the guys at the strip club and Hawk was like on the freaking stripper pole doing like the
I remember that story because he was so drunk and
and then I think
those things are sturdy.
Yes,
those things are sturdy to hold him.
But the thing though is like the joke was the fact that like I think it was Jim said like because Jim was like drunk, he was like drunk and coked out of his mind. He was like he never survived the heart
attack. Yeah,
of course,
pretty much.
So and then of course Brett tries it. So that explains 1997 so clearly now.
Yeah, no kidding. Or the famous story with Vince trying to take out Harley Race when the bribe didn't work before the first Starrcade because he wanted to bribe Harley Race the night before the first Starrcade to jump to WWE with the NWA belt, and Harley said no. So Vince, I guess the story goes, Vince decided, okay, plan B, tries to leg dive him in the bathroom of this restaurant.
Yeah.
They got into a fight, and all stories about it have Vince painted as coming out the loser.
Whoa,
obviously.
You see
no surprise there.
So imagine, and this is 1983 Vince McMahon, by the way. So we're talking a decade and a half before.
Yeah, but this was pre-jacked Vince McMahon.
That's right, when he was still normal, and he's going to try to leg dive. Yeah, it's an older Harley Race, but he's going to try to leg dive Harley Race in the bathroom of a restaurant because he didn't take his bribe, probably because he didn't bribe him enough money. But
or coke or something.
Yeah, he probably shortchanged him on the bribe, but he tells him no, and then that's my. I love that was Vince's plan B. Okay, plan B goes in for the takedown, and that was probably as much offense as he probably got in that fight.
Yeah, all the stories I've heard about Harley Race's hands, it's like his slaps. It was like Terry Funk too. It was like his slaps felt like fists, and his fists like you were hit by a ton of bricks.
Yeah. So I can't imagine that fight was either long or competitive in any way. So Vince is
I'm betting no.
Vince has always been an interesting character when it comes to his relationships with the wrestlers. That's for sure. That's for sure. By the way, for you two, for wrestling wise, this is a great one. It was from the Cornette broadcast, but it's something both of you guys could definitely appreciate because it was them reviewing the thread that came out. I forget they mentioned who it was, but it came out a couple weeks ago. Hulk Hogan's lies over the years, and I highly recommend.
I watched that video.
You did see that video? Okay, that was a great one. It's a great thread. I had heard most of those lies. I heard most of them, not all of them, over the years. I had heard most of them. That Metallica wanted him to be their bass player or whatever it was. I didn't realize that the Rolling Stones were part of that lie as well. Didn't hear that one. Or that what was another one that I had not heard?
He got drafted by he wanted to play. He got the option.
Oh yeah, that the Yankees and Reds were scouting him for baseball when he was in high school.
By the way,
the 400 days one is one that I've heard before, but is always funny that he claimed back in the day that he wrestled 400 days one year because the claim is if back and forth from Japan, I made up extra days, forgetting, of course, forgetting that whatever you make up, you're gonna lose when you come back. So,
there was
hilarious stuff. Throughout.
There's a clip of it. And I think it's off
the Harley Race story. Since the Harley Race story is the best one because it's so out there as a story. The one in '86 where he showed up when WWE first ran Kansas City, which was Harley's territory, and he was pissed about it. So Hogan's story that he tells is that Harley came to the arena with a gun, set the ring on fire, thanked Hogan for everything he'd done for wrestling, and shook his hand and asked for a job. The only part of that story that is in any way believable, knowing anything about Harley Race, nope, is that he had a gun with him. That is documented that he pretty much always had a gun with him.
Because he needed a gun for self-defense.
Well, yeah, if you were a heel back then, in certain territories, Louisiana, you needed one.
It was real. It was real to them.
and for Louisiana, every story I've ever heard from anybody that
even
was
Cornette.
Cornette and anybody in Mid-South during those days is that in Louisiana, not only did the Cajuns not know it was real, but the cops were on the Cajun side.
Oh,
So if you were a heel in Louisiana, it was almost like a horror movie
yeah, I bet.
where you're running from the mad townspeople. Oh, thank God, officer, you're here to help. Hey, I know
Wait.
you. And then suddenly you're in big trouble. But yeah, the Harley race. Yeah, he had a gun with him. Other than that, who would set the ring on fire and then ask for a job?
That's for a job.
Now, if it was reversed, I guess I could have seen it. He asked for a job. The guy said no. Okay,
so then you set the
watch
ring
what
on
I'm
fire.
gonna do. But that part
Yeah.
was probably the best of the fake stories, other than the 400 days thing. That was
Yeah.
still, that's always pretty funny because the first thing, and Scott's seen the video, so he knows that Cornette used the Superman reference. That's the first thing I thought when he said the 400 days thing was, what? He's like Superman or something? Redirecting.
The Earth.
So that's a good one to listen to as far as
Gotcha.
their reaction, as well as the lies themselves, because they're great. A lot of them have been around for a while. Some of them I had legitimately not heard before.
Yeah, same.
The fact that Darren Aronofsky offered the starring role in The Wrestler to Hogan 3 times, that was one I had not heard. That was kind of a pathetic lie to be.
Yeah.
Looking back, that's kind of a pathetic lie. At least the rock star thing with Metallica and the Stones. And he singled out one of the band members is personally coming to his house and asking him or whatever.
I think it was Lars asked him.
Lars, yes, it was Lars. Or that Elvis was a Hulk Hogan fan, even though Elvis died before Hulk Hogan was an actual wrestling character. That
That's it.
stuff. That's a good one too. Those lies. Those are fun Hogan lies. Those are ones that are just funny. It's like
Yeah.
just because he says it with complete, he says these things because I've seen some of the interviews where
He's utterly
complete
serious.
sincerity,
Yeah.
complete serious. He believes these things to be truth. And none of them are. And the weird thing is, if you go through a lot of these lies and you have historical knowledge of some of them or most of them, he'll mix up events when he creates some of these lies. Like there was one about a fight with Tyson that was supposed to happen. Well, there were rumors in 1990 before he dropped the belt to Warrior. They were bullshit, but they were actually rumors. And I think he took that and said, no, that actually happened in WCW when I was there. So it's a very fun vid without a doubt to listen to. Yeah.
And it's like it's like a 20-minute video too. It sounds
something like that. Yeah. Cause they talk about all the lies and there's the commentary from those guys, which is great. Usually great, especially when they try to keep themselves from losing it at the hilarity of some of these lies. So
corny.
Good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Great stuff. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's a good time for me to hit it.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten a lot done on this one. It feels like it's like an old show.
Yeah.
And
it went as long as
stepped
an old
right
show.
back into the host role perfectly. So, we'll see you.
I can't help myself.
Next week, whenever Scott wants to do this again.
Well, maybe we'll see. Yeah. I can't help myself.
Tuesday after
No, it
Bills
was
win.
great.
So, yeah, absolutely. It's a blast. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was fun to be back.
Yeah, you're like I tell like other guests, you're always welcome back on.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
Especially you.
No problem.
Yeah, you can even step in for me and host, sometime when I need a break.
Well, yeah, maybe I'll keep in touch and see what's up. Yeah, it was fun. It was a blast.
And this is like so much easier than Blog Talk. I can't even stress that enough.
It was. It seems like it was it's a lot less stressful than the old days.
Except for Mary Lee's computer.
Well,
Hey,
So this is the easiest she's had, like in probably the 13
it's
episodes.
very
so
true.
Like,
maybe we'll get a hot streak going where it won't be doing it for a couple
I
of shows.
seriously
You're
will.
the key. You're the key. You are
Because
more.
I will
you
see,
know?
because I will see her screen like buffer like for like 30 minutes. Like
Oh,
it'll be like
The pain.
Mary's in the room. I mean, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I mean, we're not in we're, like when we're in studio, like just talking. I was like, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
the pain of it all.
I'm like messaging her on Facebook like, are you alive?
Yeah. Like, are you there? Can't tell.
Or are you killing yourself because your computer is just.
Like
Have
the
you
end of
thrown-
Butch and Sundance. She's going out in a blaze of glory in a freeze frame.
Yeah, so is she throwing the computer out the window by now?
One day.
Oh God.
Oh, I fully expect that to happen. Like
Well,
just like,
maybe.
she'll like sneak a laptop and she won't tell me, and she's like, also I see the computer out the window. Like, what?
We're getting an aerial shot now.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, again, thanks for having me. It was great to talk to you guys and just talk
Absolutely.
like an old show. It was
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
Fantastic.
You are always welcome back.
Thank you very much. I
course.
plan on being back at least another time.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Take it easy, guys.
Yep.
Yep,
See you, Phil.
you too.
Yeah, so it's been that was a nice little show. I mean, yeah, we're still on for just 2 more months. Yeah, I think I definitely got Phil back.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, honestly, I always like when we have a guest anyway, but
Oh, it makes
he's-
stuff so much easier.
he's a guest who just fits right into our dynamic, and like instantly we fell back into old patterns, and it's hard to believe that we haven't done a show, the three of us, in as long
Like,
as it's been.
It's
But
gonna be 3 years at least.
yeah, but I mean, it's great to have somebody too that the other guests that we've had on before, they've all been great, but they're definitely very
They're not Phil.
professional. They're very
Yeah.
professional about how they go about their business, and I don't mean that as an insult to
No,
Phil at
no.
all, but it's just such a different, like, because we're not professional about how we go about
We
our
don't claim to
business.
be.
No, we don't. That's why sometimes when we have guests on, I was like, I feel like we should take this a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, it's like they're not really on are we? Yeah.
But good times.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll probably do it again soon. Like I said, Tuesday night after the Bills win.
I am unavailable. I don't know what yet, but I am unavailable.
Scott, I am busy folding my socks. I'll be available like next Sunday when the Bills are on bye week.
Yeah, there you go.
So I don't have to hear from you for 2 weeks.
Oh, you'll find a way to talk about them. You
Well-
always bring the Bills into it.
You kind of got it because they're kind of relevant now. If they were bad.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's got to be an exciting time. Like I know what it's like to live through the bad years, just to get in a situation where you're like, wow, we actually have a chance at this.
And then all of a sudden it goes like 2 years after.
Hey, that's the thing. You never know how long your window is going to be open for, so enjoy it while it lasts.
I'm intrigued to see how many red, white, and blue jerseys are going to be tomorrow night. I have to say, it sounds like it's going to be packed with Bills fans.
Probably.
Like this is Buffalo, like Nashville's like packed right now with Bills fans. And I don't think
there are no Tennessee Titans fans.
like I said, yeah, let's get Nashville's off our list.
No, we don't have to take Nashville off our list. We
The whole
just
state
have
of Tennessee?
to take Tennessee Titans off our list.
Well, that shouldn't be that hard.
and
We can only,
whatever their fandom is or isn't. So yeah, we're only taking like 10 people off the list.
yeah, I would say there's like there's a couple of people on the show, the team I actually want to talk to, and that's like AJ Brown. That's about it. Yeah. So let's see. So it's 4-2 in the world LDS.
Yep, 4-2 in the baseball game, and I think 17-14 in the football game. I was flipping back and forth.
They Seattle's came back.
I'm gonna need no, I think it's 17 Pittsburgh and 14. Oh no, it's
Still.
17-17. They tied the game.
Oh,
Look at that. Geno Smith
Good.
has not thrown an interception today.
has he thrown a touchdown?
He has.
Okay.
Was
He-
not
he
to
had-
was not to DK Metcalf though.
It was 6. It was. I know
was
he had
To
6
Will
7.
Disley.
I think the backup tight end.
And yeah, it's like, anybody know who the heck that guy is? Because I sure as heck don't.
Isn't it sad? No, they have to talk about. And then, I mean,
Will Disley.
so yeah. So the KJ Osborne had a nice little game today for Minnesota. The only reason why I know him is because he actually went to UB for like 4 years and then transferred to Miami for his like senior year.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm like then you're such like, oh shit, it's a UB guy. Like when he
Yeah.
played with Tyree Jackson and all that, like the team, he was like the 2 receiver, and I forgot who was the 1. It just escapes me. It was like this team was really good, like that 1 year, like in 2017. But yeah, I digress. I got nothing else. I'm burned out thanks to Phil.
No, it was definitely
That's
a
great.
fun show.
It was it made the show so much easier.
That's true. We had a rundown. We didn't really need it. Once again, we just kind of traveled seamlessly through topic to topic, and you guys always have such this backlog of knowledge too, which I love. I love hearing the old wrestling stories. I love.
Well, because you
being
don't have to say
told what I should stay away from, and you tell me to go towards it with eyes wide open, but I know that
Absolutely.
means don't actually watch this.
it's a
I
trap.
still remember the PN News thing that you made me watch all those years ago on the scaffolding.
Oh yeah, it was PN News and Beautiful Bobby versus Stone Cold, Stone Steve Austin, and I forgot who was teaming with. And it's so god bad. So you have a 400-pound guy on a scaffold. What's the worst that can
Yep.
happen?
Yep. And exactly what you think happens. So
it's the only question of who wrote the shit. Jim Hurd.
hey, you can't, I don't think you can blame it all on one person. I think
Oh,
it's just
you can-
everybody was terrible back then.
You know you can hear it from Jim Hurd.
Just him. He's the only person to blame.
Well, he's the one that wanted to put an earring in Ric Flair's ear and call him Spartacus.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's
Let's see.
pretty egregious.
He tried to use the logic with like Ole Anderson and Arn Anderson that like they were going to create a tag team called the Humpbacks and they could never be pinned because their backs are humpbacks. So their shoulders are never on the mat. And Ole just goes, I'm like, Ole just his voice goes like, I'm going to stretch those sons of bitches, make them can't submit. What happens then? Like, yeah.
Hey, that's a kind of thing that it wouldn't work all the time, but that is still one of my favorite things in wrestling is when Al Snow was teamed with Head against Too
Oh, sure.
Cool. And they brought in the bottle of Head and
Head and
Shoulders
shoulders.
so that they could,
Pin the guy.
like,
And the
that was fantastic.
yeah, that was King of Ring '98. That's like forgotten match because like everything else is forgotten for that show.
Yeah.
What the hell in this out? And yeah, that was the one thing they did. Is like, and like Jerry, like I said, Jerry Lawler was a special referee because it was like if Al Snow somehow won,
Yeah.
like he'd get a WWE contract.
It was just so good. Like, you don't think about something like that. The fact that they thought about that, they don't do that anymore. There's no real thought put into things. It's just
Well,
let's
it's
throw
like-
something against the wall and see what sticks.
Well, it's like watching that stupid Vinny blow up. It's he's not pissed off because it was like a backup plan. That was the original plan.
Right. Right. It wasn't like they had to do this because, somebody threw up the X. Like, they booked
Right.
this.
Yeah, it's like right. And I did send Phil the link. I'm proud of myself. Means he'll probably watch it like in 4 weeks because he checks Facebook so much.
He
Like,
could be
you were t-
listening to the rest of this right now. and
I
we
don't
could
care.
shade him. Please come back.
Yeah, we need you, Phil. But no, it's like shit like that. But it's like, I mean, I joke because it's like the text message him and I went back and forth for like the last week saying like, hey, I want you on this. Like, when can you do it? He's like, how about Sunday? I'm like, sure, why not? And then like I sent him the link. I literally wrote the show like Tuesday. I sent him Tuesday and like
Mhm.
he's like, oh yeah, I just saw your link for Zoom. And it was like at like 5 o'clock. It's like I'm 5:30. He's like, I'm gonna join you in an hour and a half. I'm like, you told me to. He's like, I know I set the show for 7 o'clock, right? Because you told me to. He's like, no kidding. I'm like, I can show
we
you the
based this
text.
on your availability.
Yes. But anyway, I digress. Let's do the normal thing and try to get to sleep at a normal hour because I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, it's not that late right now, which is good. I like the
Well,
earlier start times.
Yeah, we'll plan one a little earlier this week. Never mind.
Not Tuesday.
That'd be the best time to do it though.
We're not gonna have
Okay.
anything new to talk about. We'll spend 3 hours talking about the Bills. You can shoot me now.
If we were to do that, I would bring in like experts. I really would.
You just have a Bills only show. You just go for it. You bring in all
Well,
your Bills
I-
people and
Well, I want you to do a show with like speaking. The only thing people I want to do with Bills is this group called the Bills Mafia Babes. I want to do like a women's football show. I really do. Like have you on, have like one of them, at least one of them come on. See if I can reach out to anyone else that's women that covers it or used to cover it. And have like the women of football and have you be like the host of it.
why are you trying to make me be host? Host has to do a lot of work.
I'll sit here be muted, like not even on. I'll always like turn my camera off and just be like incognito.
You'll just be like running the thing from the background.
Yeah, kind of like when I do the Bar Talk Radio thing, except for it's a lot easier. No one hacks in. We don't get random prank calls.
That was pretty funny. I honestly am trying to remember who other Scott was. I cannot.
How?
Like, I
I thought
don't
you were
know-
friends with him.
I am friends with him. At least I was friends with him. But like the Scott that I know now is not the Scott that like I honestly I don't even think this person's name was Scott. I really don't. I can't.
Because we always called him Other Scott, though.
I cannot think of who I had on these shows.
Check your Facebook friends, smarts.
I
Not
don't
now,
know.
obviously. Yeah, that's funny though.
like yeah,
I mean,
like I honestly don't remember other Scott.
yeah, he was like in like New Japan, like Phil was. He was. It seemed like he was more friends with Phil, but he wasn't.
Oh, we
But-
knew. Okay, now I know. Okay, yes. Now I
he was
know
def-
who. From
Okay.
from okay, yeah. I don't really know him too well anymore. We were in a wrestling Facebook group together. Okay, yep, that's who it was. Yeah, he definitely was the Japan guy.
Yeah, we just let Phil and him go at it for like 2 hours.
Yeah, we didn't need to be there. I
Yeah, we-
barely knew about Japan at the time. I
Eh.
barely knew about like half the stuff I talk about half the time. He'd have me on, and I would literally just be like Googling and be like, "Oh, I didn't watch the show yet. Like, let me
You
read
should-
it." It's like I gotta read and find out what happened.
Yeah, you're like I sometimes hear you click. Yeah, she's looking it up.
I don't know. I thought I did a pretty good job of faking it till I make it.
Absolutely. And now we'll get you on for a boxing show next.
Oh, I can't even fake it. I don't
Yeah.
even fully know the rules of boxing.
You can't kick.
Like when he was talking about the fact that somebody could put 25 pounds back on in rehydration, I was like, that is insane to me.
Brock does it all the time.
That is insane. Like
it's an
I
amateur wrestling
get
thing.
like 5 pounds, but 25 just seems. I
Well,
don't know how you can drink
okay.
your way to 25 pounds.
You don't only drink your weight. So funny story. I'll tell you this quickly. I mean, I don't care. I know we're on air, but the funny story is like my friend Fred. I love to death, but like this is gonna date me a little bit. I mean, how much is the price for a cheeseburger at McDonald's now?
I don't know, probably like $3-4.
Just a regular cheeseburger? Nothing fancy. Just a plain cheeseburger.
Oh,
Like
that's probably like $2.
well, back in my high school days, not to date. Like I said again, not to date myself. They were 39 cents. My friend Fred brought 20
Oh,
to a wrestling tournament. Like he was wrestling 215, and in one of the wrestling tournaments at the high school, there's a McDonald's a block and a half away.
Yeah.
Like a city block. So it's like I mean this is a small town, so it's like literally you cross the street,
Right.
you're at a McDonald's. Yeah, he bought $20 worth of cheeseburgers. He probably was like it was a 1 day wrestling tournament. Sometimes we had 2 days, but like I remember how pissed off that coach would get at him because he would get down to 250, he would get down to like 214.9.
yeah.
Make weight. They right around 215. He would beeline McDonald's like right after made weight. And he'd come back with like 40 cheeseburgers. And this is a Saturday, so Sunday we had off to recover.
Uh-huh.
Monday we get like he would for fun weigh himself, and he'd be like 235, 240. And we never meet like in 3 days, and like he must have like puked it all out.
Oh,
That's one thing I can think of because
I
he
mean,
would
if I
make
ate 40 cheeseburgers, I would throw up anyway.
yeah. So would I. Like, dude, it's a lot of shit in your mouth. But yeah, he would just like he'd get up to like 230, 240, like in 2 days.
Wow.
And then I'm like, dude, yeah, like Vito's gonna kill you. So, like absolutely murder you. And like somebody somehow in 4 days he'd be back down to 220.
Wow. Yeah,
And
that's
well,
impressive
I
to be able
think-
to cut weight and put it back on that quickly.
I think he had to throw it all.
You think he was, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only way that to cut that much weight. I think that's really the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, and he'd be fine, but it was just funny. Like, but that's the only tournament he'd do it for because he knew like down the street, like, hey, there's McDonald's, and then they're 39 cents. I'll bring a 20. I'm surprised they let him in the gym. I'm surprised he let him back in the gym with all the
It's
food.
true. You can't hide the McDonald's bags that you're walking around with.
Well, it was like only 2, but it was like the ones with the handles.
Yeah. Oh, I got him. No, what? I tagged
Hey,
him
what-
out. That's bologna soup.
Bologna soup. That's so like that's not even PG. But anyway, good show.
Good show.
And like I said, we'll talk through the week.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Okay.
All right, people.
Enjoy. I hope you enjoyed our show with Phil's unique energy, shall we say?
He's meant for this business.
Oh, absolutely.
He
Yes.
is definitely meant for podcasting.
Yeah, that's maybe I get him more often. But anyway,
The
like,
rest
good
of
show.
us, we do our best.
We make shit as we go along. It's great.
It's
But
true.
anyway.
We do have fun.
Yeah. So good show. We'll talk soon.